Permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Docking request accepted.
All right, welcome to the stream here. I know things are getting a little bit, just getting things all kind of set up here. Ooh, that's not what I want to do. Well, it is, but I want to turn this on. Here, now you can see my purty face. All right, let's get the show on the road here. So everybody, go ahead and undock, undock, undock. Frozen Fallout. Shoot the prophecy. Shoot the prophecy. Bump it, bump it, bump it. Somebody go get a bump on it. Go get a bump, 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 bump. Afterburner, micro warp drives on. Woo! Yeah, that was pretty close though for T1 guns. That was pretty good. Yeah, don't worry about it. No, no, all friendly on field. All friendly. Align to the Fleet Gate. Broadcast it aligned. Turn off your micro warp drives. Warp in Fleet to Fleet.
Active.
Can anybody get eyes in Fleet for me? Everybody hold, 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 hold. Those Algoses are friendly. Everybody hold here. I suppose I could stop being lazy and pull out my eyes. Alright, set up on this gate here. Go ahead, spread yourselves out a little bit. Orbit the gate at like 500.
Connecting. Skill training completed.
Nothing there at all. Alright, everybody go ahead, jump, 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 jump. Align Devon. Warping fleet to Devon.
Active.
Alright, go ahead, jump, jump, jump into Devon. Oh, we're doing good. We're doing real good. How you doing? Align Nagamenon. All friendly, warping.
Warp drive active.
It's fucking cold out, that's what it is. Everybody go ahead, jump into Naga. There's one red here.
Warp drive active.
All of Alien are friendly. You're too much cold, I feel like freezing. Alright, everybody hold on the Sujirento gate and set yourself up on the Sujirento gate. Let me know what's in Sujirento. I think we got ice, yep. Alright, go ahead and set yourself up here on this gate. There is also plexing that can be done in this system if you'd like to go make some ISK or if you'd like to help with the war effort. But we will set ourselves up here for a little bit until I hear more from Tacky. Haha! Well, you know, one of the things is he just summoned something, so if he, it's gonna be some juicy ass orca or something gonna jump through. Yeah. Howdy, howdy. Should see it in Fleet Finder. No, I should stream tomorrow. I'm supposed to do a Stellaris stream every Thursday, but super lazy about it. We play the game, I just don't want to stream it. I'm just... go ahead and X up in Militia, I'll grab you. And Frippy, I know that you're going to be neutral to most of this stuff, so you want to be really hot on the trigger on getting out when you get your little kill touch on them. But if you do want to, you know, go to something a little bit bigger, so you can survive gate guns, or just something that has tank that can survive gate guns, that might be a good option for you for anybody that's neutral. Yeah, I'll reimburse you if you get blown up, so. I do have some creative design for streamer do you want to see? Not at this time. But if you hit me up, you can just hit up my Discord and stuff like that and hit me up. Possibly interested, but nice. You blowing up Shadow Cartel shit? Oh, we're friends with well, not really friends, but like we're on talking terms with Shadow Cartel these days. We had to help out our friends, man, like That's why you gotta petition Karma Fleet to allow them to let you into the Galente. Like they need to enable that check mark, and then they need to be like, if anybody but Frippy turns this thing on. Yeah, just Goon Swarm. If only I had influence in it when they were deciding what's because I had no influence during that time. But prior to that, if they would have if we would have had enlistment like 6 years ago, I could have easily convinced the goons to come over to the Galente. Although I don't know if we want that massive amount of horde. It is funny how much little they influence the war zone for the for the Keldari. Like I don't like normally when I see goons they're just dying. Like I don't see like any effort, being put into like doing anything down here. Which it makes sense. They've got shit to do. They got other shit to do, but oh, also, I'm moving, but I would highly suggest if you want to get those perfect wrecking shots on the non-moving targets when they decloak from gate jump, don't move. Just stop. Just make sure you're not all bunched up on each other, so a smart bomber can't just come in and blow us all up. But if you're willing to risk your life for that little extra ability to like track your enemy, stop your ship, especially if you've got artillery. I would say, yeah, just completely being stopped when you're in a gate camp is the most effective, because mostly anything that's going to land here, whether it's through the gate or landing on top of us, is going to come to a complete and utter stop. And when they're at 0 and you're at 0, there's no tracking that needs to be done. So you get perfect tracking calculations, which allow you to, just smash the enemy with these things. Because these are pure alpha machines. So if everybody gets a near perfect shot off on the first volley, like we can take out probably an entire cruiser in one shot. Atron is friendly. Vigi is bad guy. let's get this guy. Come on. First kill of the day. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh my god, I got a lock on him. Oh no, you gotta be really careful about that stuff. Yeah, you should only be boosting me, because then you can't get shot by gate guns or lose standings for doing that. Yeah, no, that was us. Yeah, you gotta be... I highly suggest, if you're gonna do any kind of boosting or the like, you just go pure booster. Because it's so... every time you're gonna shoot somebody. It's a guarantee. That's cool, though. Yeah, as a neutral, I would just hold off on shooting anything unless something's shooting you, and we're not calling, and then let us know. There you go. Yes. Yep. Because he warped before we could get a lock on him, so I was about 0.3 seconds away, probably, from being able to actually achieve a point on him. Well, why didn't you? He's probably just coming this way. Tuna in the same corp as you? Is Tuna a criminal? No, he was a criminal that we were trying to shoot. Yep, negative 8.2, no penalties. You will not take any standings loss. You will not take any problems. Yep, that's the guy that you want to shoot. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yep. Go. Don't worry about the gate flash. We don't know what it is, so if we got it called out. All right. Good. Everybody go. Sorry. Yeah, I was muted. Fuck. I was like, God damn it. So, yeah, I was like, Vanguard, go, and then I was like, God damn, I'm muted. Alright, go inside, go inside, go inside. They're inside, they've got to be inside. It's fine, let's go find out.
Warp drive active.
Because you make it from you sliding in. Oh, somebody just died. Elgoses are friendly. L neutrals, get off the field. Get off the field. Alright, warping fleet to Suge. So all those Elgoses are friendly and they just killed, we came in just as they were killing, yeah, don't, I know, but, well, I mean, you can do whatever you want, I can't help you, and... Yeah. Alright, set yourself back up on the Sujarento gate. Once again, if we could get fast webs, super fast long point, or super fast Skaram. Ooh, yeah. Alright, so we should be good on that. What's your scan res? Ooh, this is a test. Jeez, man, that's a fast point. Woo! He just disappeared. Everything's friendly on the field. Yeah. Yeah, that is the might of the Thrasher, is that the only problem with the Thrasher is that not everybody gets on the kill for these frigate kills. And even cruiser kills sometimes, it's like, what? He disappeared before I could shoot. Solid first kill of the night. Top damage, frozen fallout. Because I got Tech 2 kills. Ooh, yeah, that's a good amount of booster right there. That's worth actually probably pretty little penny there. Get out, Frippy. Yeah, don't. Oh, ooh. Ooh, is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? No, nope, there he's dead. Dude, you gotta be aligned. You gotta be aligned. Yeah, but you know. Don't, what were you shooting? Because there was nothing here to shoot. Oh my god, you don't need tracking for a wreck. Ooh, let's test, next test. Jeez, you must be huge on the queue right now. Yeah. What I want to know is what I want to know what motherfucking drugs fucking Cat is on right now, because that motherfucker is, but as soon as I see him, Cad's like, I got him. point. I'm like, I just literally just clicked on him. Like you. So you must be. But you must be. Yeah. And yeah, it's because he's in the queue proper. He's actually in hyperlock queue right now. He's at the top of the queue, so he's actually like probably 1 second ahead of all of us. Like no, like literally, like that is. Yeah, he gets stuff. He will see things happening before we see things happening, and you have to like, yeah, jump gate. You have to like dock. You know, I think there's a couple other things. Yep. So he just got lucky and he's at the top of the queue. And when you usually are top of the queue, you're top, like until. Yeah, there's gate camps in Abazon that for the Spectre gate camp that goes on there every day, and there are times when like people are like, point, and I'm like, I don't even see anything on my screen yet. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I do because somebody called that they're coming in and I'm all ready, but it's like, you got a point on him before I even saw him. That's crazy. And I don't have, like, I mean, I have good internet. I'm just not in London and not at the top of the queue. Oh, that's beautiful. It's bullshit, man. Yeah, that is the workings of the internet. It is a weird universe. The one thing that I'm interested to see is like I'm really interested, but I really don't want to be interested in the game is Eve Frontiers because they're going down to I think a 0.5 second. The 0.25 I think actually is what they're doing for their server ticks. That sounds very interesting to have like so low of a latency for EVE Online. It's the new EVE Online. It's EVE 2. Hi, okay. It's in beta right now. You can sign up for it. Basically, it's EVE Online, but it's much more of a survival game. So there's going to be 500,000 solar systems or something like that. Something enough so that like if everybody claimed a solar system, they would have like their own solar system. Basically, that if every player in the game tries to like claim one thing, they can get one solar system. Um, 6,000, maybe more than that, maybe 8,000. We're in Nagamenon. That's why that's the reason why we're here, is because because first of all, it would be really nice. Well, okay, so there is. I totally understand if you want to go chase down kills, go ahead. And the thing is, I'm more of an FC where I let people come to me. I'm not about like just chasing fucking people down. Like chasing around like rabbits is really annoying for me. I want a big giant elk to like walk past my trap. But yeah, though there is fun to be had for and I'm totally down for anybody that wants to go squirrel hunting. Go ahead, man. Go chase them down and shoot them up, man. But yeah, what we're doing specifically is trying to stop the traffic moving in here from Sujarento to Negamenon, and that prevents them from being able to plex in this area. It messes with their logistics to a certain point if they're trying to do anything in Devon. Oh, hey, Delis has a hostile gate camp. How big? Ooh, this is the ulti test. This is where your high Q standard will work. Well, actually, this is where it is possible. Although you need probably another 500 scan res. Oh no, he's gone. Oh, he's cloaked. He's cloaked. Try and get him. Still try and get him. He's. Nope, there he is. Nope, he did the cloaked warp trick. Good. Yep. He did pretty good on that cloak warp trick though, because that's where the server tick is. Did we see what that was? Okay. We are in Negamenon. Interesting. 30 off. He's still sitting there? Okay. If he was... Yep. We move on. First kill of the night, though. What's up, troop? Let's hold for a little bit here, because it sounds like they're a small little gate camp that'll just like rush away as soon as we'd have to do like a whole bait system. Yeah, it was just a small little T3 destroyer, so they're gonna be like squirrely as fuck. Darth, I'm gonna shoot you another fleet invite here. I don't know, but I just was afraid Frippy was gonna shoot you. Ah, okay. Oh, Courser, let's see what he does. Jump, 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 jump. Oh, no, he's not. Off. Get him, get him, get him, get him. Who is dead? Wow, okay. Try and hold pods if possible. It's not a big issue. I'm not going to cry over anything, but if possible, just throw a point on a pod and hold them down until we can all get on that juicy 10 billionist pod mail that happens every once in a blue moon. Oh, we got a 50 million pod too? Fuck yeah, man. That's great. Yeah. Damn, that was like 100 millionist fucking comet altogether then. Oh God, man, I've been spending so much time working on making this book that this novel that I'm starting to write right now, that like I just don't have enough time to move in all of the shit because I'm supposed to be handing out a bunch of Algoses right now, but luckily I have like a massive stock of Thrashers still in supply. I'm building up quite a stock of Algoses as well, but I just haven't got around to like getting all the shit moved to where I need it to be. It's like, God damn it. I gotta play Eve more. I don't know like why I don't just move shit around on my like while I'm working. Skill issues, yeah, time issues. You can do Eve. The thing about Eve though is that normally if I try to do something in Eve while I'm doing something else, Eve just doesn't nothing friendly. It's all friendly. Is Eve is in one of those games where like it just becomes a chat channel. Like I don't actually get anything accomplished if I'm not really like. It's like I'll go do a level 4 mission and I'll realize that I've been like sitting in this mission for like an hour and a half and all the enemies have been dead. Like doing something else, you know. So while I agree, this is totally a skill issue. Yeah, this is a frozen Fallout problem. I get hyper focused, so that's if I get into a hyper focus mode, which is not like it's not a lot of the time, but that's like kind of what happens to me when I'm like I don't know, just focused. I guess sometimes it's like I just go like and then I'll try. I always act like I'm multitasking. I'm one of those people where they'll be like, "Do you multitask all the time?" And I'll be like, "Yes." And they'll be like, "Are you good at it?" And I'll be like, "Yes." And then they'll like test me and they'll be like, "You are shit at multitasking." And I'll be like, "Yeah, I know." But that's the majority of people. If you ask them if they're really good multitaskers and they multitask all the time, you'll find out that most people who try and multitask all the time are actually horrible multitaskers. And people who try not to multitask and try to be focused people are actually very good at multitasking. Yeah, it must have been. I don't know, I'll take my second kill. Who's an Aussie? Oh. Oh, you do have a tint of yeah, I can hear it now. The super thick British or super thick Australian or Kiwi accent just like just rattles me to the core where it's like I didn't love it. It's that's such a beautiful name. It's such a like beautiful language. Right, yeah, that's the thing is it sounds actually fun to talk in that. Like German sounds like you have to be really angry. Russian kind of the same way. American kind of goes all over the place, but I think like we're kind of the neutral-ish kind of like just unless you get like the southern twang, like it's woo. I've got the midwestern twang, I guess. I'll tell you that it never happens in America. That's the thing too, is that it is such like how natural it feels for them to talk like that. Like that is it's like a this is beautiful. German sounds like you stepped on a Lego and forgot to make words through the paint. Forgot how to make words. That's great. I like that. Alright, let's spread out those points. Alright, 1 out of 3, not bad. You're in a Gnosis now, right? Okay. They're in our fleet? Oh no, no, that's that guy. Yeah, you do whatever you want to do. But I would say don't for a second here. I'm gonna try and invite him in. Maybe say something in local real quick. He just got shot down by Frippy. He was just Frippy's in kind of showing that, you know, he's neutral, so don't fuck with him. Yeah, I would suggest bouncing Frippy. Oh, hey. Get ready to jump. Get ready to jump, 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 jump. I'll hold them. Alright, go, 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 go. Everybody jump through. Everybody jump through. Try and get them. Oh no, we're probably going to lose our insta-lock point. That's fine. Yep, we're jumping into Suge. Oh! That's the reason why what I suggest doing for when you're trying everybody back into Negamenon. If you're trying to be the person that's holding down point, what you do is you click on both of your modules, you hold control, and then wait for them to appear, and the moment that they appear... Oh. Well, if you hold control, then it let's get him. Nope, he jumped. Nope, he's off. Don't worry about this condor. Yeah, let's get some super lockers here. Well, frigate kills, which is what a large chunk of these are. That is the funny thing about Eve is like it's like, oh, I can do, it's one of those few games where it's like, oh, I figured out something that allows me to do something over and over again. And the players can't figure out how to stop me. It's usually you figured out something and then players are looking at it and going, oh, I know how to stop that now. And then you try and do it again and it's like, ah, shit. Except for the cloak warp trick. Well, the cloak warp trick is good, but a high sec fighters. Yep, that's another one. And then just the stiletto insta bumper is another one. Which then you get double because then when you bump them, you stop them from being able to warp and you decloak them. It's very rare to see that in a gate camp these days. I rarely see somebody trying to be the super bumper. I've had it done to me probably twice that I've seen it done to me with a person in a ship, and then probably once that I saw it with a person in the ship, and then with fighters I've seen it like a bunch of times because the app is on. Well, damn. Can you go check out Tama and just see if there's any fun things there? Has there been like people going in and out of Sujirento? This is the way. Also, feel free to do some plexing here, and or go scouting out and try and find something for us because I don't want to take the whole fleet somewhere unless there's a reason to go somewhere. So. You can go check out like of course, Hey Dealies and see if there's anything messing around bit there because there's weird shit sometimes there. But a boon, um, yeah, Pinacasto, Nisawa, um, yeah, see if there's a camp anywhere. Because yeah, if we're camping but it's kind of dead, then we might as well go chase some squirrels for just a little bit. Although it's one of those things with gate camping where it's like, oh, the system is dead and quiet now, and it's like, okay, so this is when the praxis comes through because he thinks that it's dead and quiet. So, and it's one of those. It's really hard to do, and it happens to me like way more than it should. Where it's like, okay, let's move, and then like as soon as we move, it'll be like, oh, there's a Drake Navy issue that just jumped through, and we all warped off. Like literally, a half of a second, stop on me not hitting that warp button, and we would have gotten a Drake kill. Yeah. Trick it! Trick the universe! I wonder what happened with Tacky. Yeah, but I need to be able to talk to him. He wants to. Oh, Pablo's friendly. I think. No, different Pablo. Okay. Woo, and he's gone. I'm not even sure if we need a tackle on that one, to be honest. Don't do that. Why do you have Rex on your overview? Get Rex off your overview. Oh my god. You got you've got the ability to make like 4,425 tabs. Oh my god. You don't have a PvP fucking tab. Do you have different system. He speaks the truth. That's FW stuff. No, we don't have comp streaming today. No, it was there was a request not to have comp streamed, so I mean legally I think you're in a fine spot. So. Well, no, it's the one where it's a one party what is that called? One party consent federally. I don't know what it is across the ponds though. I don't know what it is. Uh, and then, but I don't know how that interacts with other people's countries' laws if they have like. So I don't know what Australia's laws are regarding that. I don't know how that all works out and all of that. But a lot of it, usually at the highest levels, is usually one party consent. Yeah, we'd have to get a person to decloak and point him with like a bomber. That is the one thing that Eve is really harsh about, but also very rewarding to the people who do it. Is if you have everything all prepped and ready, like we had a bunch of bombers inside of Suge that I could just give to somebody to go do that kind of stuff. It works out very well. But if you are like, oh, I've got a Drake and I found it in this safe spot, but in order to catch it, we need a stealth bomber. It's like, okay, well, do you got like 20 minutes? Because that's how long it's gonna take for you to go figure out how to get a fucking stealth bomber out here, unless you got it all ready here. Oh, that's even better. Oh yeah, we want the Drake. I don't know. Go get him. What was it? Okay. I love how jumpy people get when they see a gate flash and we haven't had somebody call something up. Oop, there's Tricks. Don't even catch him if he's gonna go through. But try and lock him up here. Okay. Do remember while we are just twiddling our thumbs here and just catching little guys here and there, feel free to definitely hit up these plexes and shut these things down so that we can flip this system and we can move on to Tama. What do you need shields for? Yeah, what do you need shields for? Yeah, but what do you need shields for? Right, that's a skill issue, man. Yeah, aren't you? You better be armor tanked. Like that's okay. Well, the shields are for the dust, dude. Like as long as you got 0.1% shields, keeping the dust off, it's good. Ooh. Oh, well, let's try this. Pay attention, man. No problem, man. Oh. Wow, yeah, but the transversal on that was the problem, yep. Um, do, yeah, yep. So, yeah, Yep, so that would be perfect, actually. That works exactly perfect. Although, go ahead and put W's in fleet when you want us to jump in and go in and then announce it. Yeah, this is it, man. This is your time to shine. Wow, yeah, man. Positivity. Ooh, perfect then. That's actually perfect, because you'll be slightly distracted. Let us know when you're in warp. Okay, everybody go ahead and jump, 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 jump. Let me know when you land. Warping
Warp
fleet.
drive active.
Other problem is he will be awake, so... Alright, if you didn't catch that, warp to CAD, warp to CAD, warp to CAD, warp to CAD. Point. We need scrams on him. Make sure to get scrams. Go ahead, overheat one round, overheat one round. Perfect job. I mean, well, not full perfect, but pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Nope, that's fine. It still, that's a... Ooh, he had fucking extenders that were Keldari Navy large. Did anybody grab the loot on that? Oh, go ahead and keep that. That's all yours. Well, actually, no, you go, you keep that, and then Cat, throw me a kill mail, in an Eve mail, and I will full reimburse your loss. Perfect fucking job though for the sense of getting the kill. That's what we wanted. Yeah, you're... Alright, let's go ahead and dock up here real quick. I'll go to the State Protector. I'll do a Warp 2 broadcast.
Warp drive active.
Oh, it depends on which wreck, because there was... Okay, then you're good. Looks like we did lose 2 people, though. So we did end up with a deficit on our on the kill to kill ratio, but they killed twice as many as us. But I think we're like 5 times. Sujarent though. No problemo. Alright, go ahead and dock up, dock up, dock up. Especially with these fucking NPCs. If you guys are negative with the Keldari, these NPCs will fuck you up, man. Yeah, it takes a while for those fuckers to align. Like, it's like a good 7 seconds. Like, especially if you're moving, then you're fucked. You're just like this big giant boat just going. In the State Protectorate, the Keldaris one, invade, yeah, invade the gate. Their thing there. That was great, guys. I'm interested to see what Z-Kill says. Oh yeah, look at that. So we are already at over 300 million ISK in kills for the night. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kills that I've been on. Not bad for just sitting on our ass. Well, that fucking catch of yours, that scan down and catch, like, people like you is what really makes a solid gate camp fleet. Like, especially like a low sec to low sec kind of gate camp fleet where you're just sitting there and you want to have those two systems probed down if need be, and that's just so awesome. That was sweet. That was textbook. I want to clip that and find a way to get it. Oh, if only I had your side of the story in visuals, that would be so awesome to like show them what you just did and how you accomplished what you did, and even show the little error too, so that they see that little errors can happen and you can still succeed, and then other little errors can happen and you lose your ship for that. So I fucking love it. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of a break here and get some drink here and go to the restroom. Oh, well, if anybody wants to handle trying to fuck with that, but he's playing with us. All right, we'll be right back. back. You guys still gate camping? Can you do it with scanner? Let's get everybody on the Aranako gate then and just hold you.
Docking request accepted.
Alright, there we go. Alright, let's get back over to the Sujirento gate, actually. Or, sorry, the, Yeah, he's like, I'm back. Where is that? I don't think anybody can get in the scout. Yeah, smalls we can get in. Alright, let's go back over to Negamenon. Warp and fleet. Broadcasting warp 2. And go ahead, jump into Negamenon once you land. And once you're in Negamenon, then just reapproach the Sujirento gate. We'll set back up here. Alright, since we're just chilling, let's watch a show here. So down the rabbit hole. Let's watch Down the Rabbit Hole and do some little for Eve. Let's do some commentary on that. Let's see.
For over 20 years, the simulated world of New Eden has run in near perpetuity. While information about this world is readily available, much of it is indecipherable to the outside observer, replete with jargon
There we go. So
and
that
references
should give you
meaningful
something to watch
only
here
to
while
those
we're
who have spent years in the
hanging out.
community. On occasion, mainstream news outlets will write articles about the results of battles involving thousands of players and virtual assets valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars, massive exchanges in wars fought for arcane reasons between belligerents with convoluted backgrounds.
penalties.
People who spend their time in New Eden will begin to discuss their experiences in the game and their participation in historic events, but their gravity is often difficult to fathom for those without the same knowledge or experience. Others endeavor to chronicle particular aspects of its history, such as harrowing acts of subterfuge and its ever-shifting borders and alliances. Many who hear about this world agree that, while fascinating, they would never attempt to join it themselves,
well, I'm gonna post my
citing
stream then
its
too.
complexity and depth. And so, for most, a single question remains: what is EVE Online?
Yeah, that is one of the coolest. There's one other skin, I think. The Death Glow. But the thing is though is that the skin he has on right now is actually super cheap. So I suggest everybody get these skins because they're super cheap and they look epic. Like this is the most modified that you're gonna probably get besides holograms on a ship. Like this is where you're just gonna have permanent battle drone damage.
During the early
you look like a rogue
1990s,
drone.
software developers were exploring the possibilities of the internet, a relatively new invention at the time. Interactive online spaces such as multi-user dungeons and forums were shared by millions of people, but it was clear to everyone using and creating these spaces that there was much more potential. Internet technology was rapidly improving and changing, and developers had to make certain that their creations could keep pace. Even more difficult, however, was
jump,
balancing
everybody
the
jump, everybody jump,
ever-changing
everybody jump,
needs
everybody
and
jump,
desires
everybody
of
jump, everybody
users
jump.
with the services being created. As personal computers became more widespread and their rendering capabilities increased, developers
He
grew
jumped.
more and
Everybody get
more
ready to catch him.
interested in simulated, three-dimensional environments shared over the internet as the natural progression of forums. And of these developers, there were few as ambitious as the Icelandic company Oz Interactive and their creation, Oz Virtual. During the preceding decades, cyberpunk novelists had envisaged immersive, multi-sensory virtual experiences
Nicely done.
enabled by powerful computers networked with one another, and software developers had used
Nope,
these
he's right on
tools
top
as
of us, right on us.
to create worldwide web browsers that allowed users to explore websites in 3
Is he engaged?
utilizing a coding language called the Virtual Reality
He
Markup
jumped.
Language.
No, he
or
didn't.
Vermal, as opposed to the hypertext
Yeah, oh, I got him.
language, or HTML.
He must have.
1992, Oz Interactive sought to expand upon this concept and offer a Vermal web browser that allowed users to
Yeah, everybody get
interact
off.
with
Everybody
other
warp off.
users who were visiting the website at the same time. With
Yeah,
each
because
person
he
represented
that's where I
by
thought
their
that he
own
warped or
3D
jumped because
avatar,
he
and
ECM
even
burst.
allowing for simultaneous voice communication, a remarkable progression for the time. However, their location made development
That
difficult.
was great.
Iceland's internet was connected to the rest of the world by a single modem, and the country would turn off this modem during the night when few people were using it. Still, development would continue for the next 4 years until 1996, when they finally launched the beta version
Oh
of
shit,
Oz
oh shit,
Virtual.
oh shit, oh
Soon,
shit. Run,
other
run, run,
companies
run, run,
began
run.
forming partnerships with Oz Interactive, including Time Warner, Ericsson, the Van Gogh Museum, and Atlantic Records, to create bespoke worlds within Oz Virtual for them. Most notably, Intel cooperated with Oz Interactive to recreate a New
That's
York
60
nightclub in Oz
61
Virtual,
million
then
for that
utilize a
rupture.
motion capture system
That
on the
loot.
performers at the club to host a
Yeah.
party in both the
Who's
real
friends on
and
that?
virtual spaces simultaneously. However, the company soon realized that the concept of Oz Virtual, like many others of its
What
ilk,
the-
was a product developed too early for the market.
Oh, he
and
was
a
trying to
small group
smart
of
bomb us
developers
all.
and artists, as well as a single historian, left Oz Interactive to found their own company in 1997, which they named Crowd Control Productions, or as it is commonly abbreviated, CCP. Where this small group had once spent their time developing tech demos, they were now interested in creating a finished product, and so they decided that they would develop something remarkably different.
Don't tell me what to
game.
do.
Leveraging the design experience of
Posted.
its initial members, they quickly constructed
Oh
their game,
man,
which they
great
christened
job, guys. This is
Haituspiel,
beautiful.
or
Alright, let's get some
Danger Game.
repairs going here
Produced
and
in
get back
conjunction
onto
with
that gate.
Alcoholics Anonymous, the
bounce
game
too.
saw players fighting against one another.
Be very,
and
very careful
occasionally
with those
making
neutrals.
tenuous
You will
alliances
die in
as they
like 3
attempted
seconds.
to break the cycle of addiction to various substances. Core to the game's mechanics was a focus on sharp consequences for failure and the ability to interfere with others' play. In the game design documents, the first line read, "Death is a serious matter." Haituspiel was widely successful in Iceland, and soon it had sold a copy to 1/8 of households in the country, bringing this small, independent company of designers a significant influx of capital. But rather than continuing to make board games, the company returned to the concept that had driven them to work together in the first place. While the design and technology they had made for Oz
Down the
Virtual was
station.
produced too early for its initial purpose,
He's coming
they
with me,
envisaged
though.
a game made with the same
I
concepts
see him.
and
I see
some
him
of the
warping.
same
I think
technology.
he's gonna warp with me.
And so, in 1999, using the money they had earned from Hytuspiel,
Yeah. Get
they
inside to
began work on a
Suturento.
space-themed,
Good jump.
massively multiplayer
I mean, yeah, if
online
you
game.
want to, go ahead.
At first, the designers attempted a
I mean, yeah, if you
two-dimensional
can.
style, but the team decided quickly that they wanted to create something more
That's what I figured
reminiscent
was
of a
gonna happen.
movie. And soon, they settled on a three-dimensional style that placed the player in a ship out in
Okay,
space.
he doesn't.
against
Yeah,
a
I don't think.
backdrop of
I don't
planets
think he
and
quite
stars,
understood the
and they began
mechanical
releasing trailers in the year
concepts of
2000.
that.
Publishers were initially unwilling to believe
are in
that the
Megaman.
graphics in the trailers were rendered in real time, but after they had been convinced, CCP was able to secure the funding they felt necessary
that
to
it's
make the
them.
game that they wanted, which
Um,
they named EVE Online, the second Genesis. Their ambitions, however, were far more than graphical. Supporting the core gameplay would be a complicated system of economics described as hyper-capitalistic by its CEO. All resources available in the
Get the
game would
Negaman
be
in.
gathered, traded, processed, and utilized by players with little management from the company.
Okay,
Like
but
their
that means
board
that he's
game
got a
Hyperspiel,
huge.
the first line in the design document read,
So anybody
"Death
that's
is
in a big
serious
ship but
matter,"
that doesn't want to lose
and,
their ship
invoking
here,
biblical
be aware.
language, this game world was given the name New Eden. When development began in
Yeah, there's
earnest,
definitely
the
a big
company
fleet.
had approximately 20 people, most of them from Oz Virtual, while most
Yeah, I'm gonna
others
keep
were
us here.
direct
We're just gonna
contacts
fight
of
whatever the fuck
initial
comes at
members
us, and we're
from
just gonna have
Oz,
fun with it.
including some whose relationship had been made by playing Ultima Online with them, another early MMORPG.
What am I listening to? You're
One of
listening
the most
to
challenging
the
aspects of
Down the
creating
Rabbit Hole.
Eve would be its scaling. Rather than splitting the player base into multiple different instances to reduce the load on servers, the team decided that they would place everyone in the world
Oh,
onto a
God.
single massive instance or game
Gotta
world
pay the price
with
to listen to my
thousands of
stream.
stars, using different servers for different in-game regions. In an interview with gaming magazine IGN, the lead designer and art director, Rainier Hardison,
All right, just hold here,
said,
hold here, you guys.
quote, "I would say the hardest thing to implement must be the server backend. Apart from that, the biggest challenges in doing Eve would be that there are so many things that we are doing in the game that have never been done before. This means that there are a lot of conceptual problems that we have had to solve without having any reference to in previous games.
Yeah,
For
let's just all
instance,
get
when we
gathered
started
up
out,
on the
the only
Suchgate. We're looking
third-person
pretty good
space
here
game
to
we
at
had
least.
seen was Homeworld, and that was a real-time strategy game. So that meant that we had no reference whatsoever in how to navigate spaceships from a third-person viewpoint. Another
on, guys, you can't
example
catch
are
a capsule?
uncertainties
The
that
hell?
rise due to the technical limitation of being a massively
Haven't you
multiplayer game.
Haven't you broke the
How is
servers
collision
yet?
detection
Just,
handled on the server?
it
How will
allows
the
you to,
physics
like,
model
get
run?
against the
Will
lock.
real solar system sizes work? in
Right,
the
yeah.
game? Yes, they
absolutely.
do, to an accuracy of 30 centimeters.
It's
Million
like Goonswarm
security
level
issues, etc.
fucking
End quote.
tackle.
During production, the team
Wait,
decided
what?
upon an
Oh,
iterative
well,
process
what
which,
Goonswarm
while
always shit talks
effective,
about,
was
that they can't
arduous.
tackle shit.
Early on, we saw immediately that this couldn't be done in one go. So we decided to do 11 games, basically. We would do Eve.
I don't
11
think you
times over,
understand how
each version
Goonswarm protects
progressively,
itself from failure.
moving forward to the main goal, but not try to do Eve in one step. So the first step
The
was
whole
basically
idea
just
behind
the
it is that
basic
if
culture,
Goonswarm
get
calls
running,
itself
and
shit
then we
and it gets a good
moved over
tackle,
to
then it's
having a
awesome.
3D
And if it
tie-in,
fails, then
and
it's
we
like,
had
oh yeah,
new
that's
content which has
Goonswarm, that's
been-
fine.
had been created.
So you
And
can't
then we
beat
sort of added on
Goonswarm.
and on.
Like that's the whole idea behind
probably
like
did
the
a total
elitism
rewrite,
versus here for
5
fun.
times,
Is
and
that
partial
if you're
rewrites,
just here for fun
partial
and you're okay
rewrites,
with failing,
about
then
6
you
times.
can't ever
And
lose.
for each
And if you're
rewrite we
somebody
did,
that's
there were
elite
always
that
some
only
components
cares
which were
about
good
winning,
enough to make
when
it
you
across
win it's great, and when you
rewrites.
lose it's horrible.
But the first 5 versions were almost rewrites from complete scratch.
Still, the developers determined that they would be able to overcome
Yeah,
this
go ahead,
and every
bomb
other
all-
challenge in due
all
course
the
and
pods
with
you
time
want.
to spare. Their
Anything
confidence,
you-
however, would prove
We're here for
misplaced. At
Once-
first, the team at CCP believed that they could deliver the game in late 2001 or early 2002, but as the date approached, the conclusion quickly became that they would need twice as much time to
Okay, it
complete
may
the
be
first
scary
iteration
jumping
of Eve.
in,
With
but
no
I
other
swear
recourse
I'm
in
just ASMR bombing
mid-2002,
for
CCP called a company-wide meeting and informed their staff
you'll be
that
fine
there was
against
no
this
more
Philip,
money
probably.
remaining and that they were unable to procure any further investors for the moment.
Ooh, let's
Despite
get Villa.
this, driven by faith in the project, some of the members of the team stated that they would continue working to finish Eve. According to Hilmar, quote, "There was a turning point, I think, around the time the company was running out of money, which I think gave people this belief. We kind of had this feeling, whoa, we might actually pull this off. Of course, we
Alright, let's get
believe
this other
that
one.
there's a difference between
Jeez,
believing and
yeah,
trusting, a turn
damn,
from
man.
hope to belief." End quote. This team would continue work.
I love
while
that
management
somebody is,
scrambled to find
salvaging it,
more
looks like.
investment money. After 3 months without pay, the company was able to reach a deal with Simon and Schuster,
It's just a newbie ship.
publishing house primarily known for books, who was attempting to
Oh, so
expand
close.
into the field of games. This company offered to provide the funding necessary for CCP to
Oh,
finish
there's the
their
pro-
game, but the development
That's somebody who's
speed
going to be
necessary
smart
would be
bombing
extreme.
pods they
For nearly
declared
a
on
year,
the
the
stream.
employees would all work brutal hours,
Mr. Joint
sometimes
Ops.
100 hours a week, desperately attempting
Yeah.
to finish the game.
So be on
before
your
the money
toes.
ran
You're
out
gonna have
again.
to, if
It
you
was
got
during
something
this
in your
period
pod,
that
I
a
would
small
go
cadre of
figure out
players
where
were
to put
able
that
to
pod.
test a limited version of the game for the first time. For many, the concept of Eve and its simulated world of New Eden were a dream made manifest. While Eve promised many
Because you can put
possibilities,
implants
there was
into
no
it,
prescribed
and
definition for
yeah,
success,
implants will.
leaving players to define
Yeah,
success
it's
and
you can do
failure
some really.
for themselves. Eager to explore this sandbox, space game enthusiasts congregated online to have a chance at testing the game early.
It's
Game
really kind of
development
weird
is
because in
often
Eve you
divided
kind of
into
it
3
seems like the
phases.
ship is your
An
character,
alpha
but
stage,
actually the
where
ship is not
developers
your
are
character.
still
Your pod is your
experimenting with
character,
mechanics
and you can
features,
equip your
a
character
beta
with a whole
stage
bunch
where
of
the
stuff,
game's
and then you
core
can get into
mechanics
a
have been
vehicle
determined and the
that
developers
allows
are
you
seeking to
to.
refine their game.
Right, yeah. Well,
for
and
final
you know,
release to the
equipable.
general public. Some studios allow and encourage prospective players to have access to the game during the alpha and beta stages to test features and search for bugs in order to, theoretically, have a more polished release, and this practice is especially common for space games, whose players are particularly
I just went through.
enthusiastic, often spending significant amounts of both time and money on their hobby.
Closest
And
level
here,
5.
the space game enthusiasts
oh,
found a system ripe
if we
for
want, we might
exploration
be.
and
We might go to
experimentation.
the
The first and most
other
important
incursion war
aspect of
zone
each
today.
ship was its hull,
I
which
did get
conferred
the
different
gift
benefits depending
from
on its size and
tripping those guys
specialization.
for.
Among myriad
They gave me
other
10
smaller
battle
factors,
cruisers
each
fully
hull
fit.
also had its own capacitor, which, like mana
Yeah.
or stamina in other games, would be depleted.
But yeah, so we did
as
get
the ship
gifted
performed
10
actions,
Navy
such as firing
battle
weapons,
cruisers that
repairing
are
allies,
totally
or
designed
mining
to
asteroids.
fuck shit up.
But in
so.
order to
Prophecy
perform these
Navy
actions,
issues.
the ships had to be equipped with components, and each hull had a certain number of slots for these components, which were divided into 3
I also have
types:
auger Navy
high-power
issues
slots,
for people
mid-power
if we do
slots,
that, and then of
and
course if we're
low-power
going to do
slots.
something
The high-power
over there,
slots were typically where
if
the
we
most
could
defining
get,
parts of a
I've got to
ship
go out
were
and buy
located.
a bunch of Guardians
Here could
just
be found
for
every kind of
when we're
physically
not doing
damaging
something
weaponry,
on,
such as lasers and
Flex or something,
projectile
because
turrets, as well as logistical components
just they're
which
so
allowed
good.
ships
Guardians
to
are
repair
so
one
fucking
another in
crazy
the middle
good.
of combat. The mid-power slots were where ships received much of their utility.
That
For
was
example,
a lot of fun.
most ships
And I
were
want to
fitted
try that
with
fleet out
propulsion
again too.
modules,
And the
which
prophecies
consumed
actually
power in order
complement
to
that fleet very
drastically
well as
increase
well.
speed. The tools to ensnare targets were also placed in mid-power slots, including stasis webifiers and warp disruptors, which were necessary for preventing an opponent from escaping. Low-power slots were usually used to help support a ship in its given role. For example, a cargo ship might have fitted inertial stabilizers in order to travel more quickly and evade targets, while a tougher combat ship would fit components to
Yeah,
further
over 2
strengthen
to
its
1.
armor
They had 43
or
on their
actively
team. We
repair
had 20
itself.
on ours.
Many mid and low power slots simply offered passive benefits to the ship, such as reducing incoming damage with no capacitor cost. However, each ship
I
also
mean, when you're
had power
outshipped
grid
and
CPU
outgunned
limitations,
and
meaning that a player
outnumbered
could not
and
simply fit the most
everything,
powerful components.
I will take
Rather,
a
they had to
50%.
carefully balance the different components to create the most powerful combinations for the lowest cost possible. Once completed,
What? In
flying the
Naga?
ship itself was a relatively
Where
simple
we are?
matter. Nearby objects could be selected in a window on the screen, allowing them to
That's
approach it,
oh,
orbit it, keep it at range,
that's
or
a
target it.
brilliant.
Targeting a ship allowed the player to
Oh,
attack,
there's the pilgrim.
heal, recharge, or disrupt it with whatever
Oh,
modules it
Naga.
had equipped. In order
No,
to
what?
use these ships and modules, the player's character would need the requisite skill points, which could only be gained passively over
I thought
time,
that he was just
even
trying to
when the
pull
player
people
was
into
logged
this
out
system.
of the game, ensuring a more even distribution of progression for players. Numerous space game enthusiasts petitioned CCP for access, and those who
I'll
were
say that
granted
I am
their
not gonna go
request began
34
probing
jumps.
EVE and making plans for when their friends, clanmates, and companions could join them and multiply their strength upon the launch of the game world. EVE
Okay,
had
so
not
he
yet
was
been
just trying to pull
released,
people
but
into
already the struggle for
Naga, which would be
dominion
brilliant,
and
you know, just get a
survival
bunch of
in
people
New
trying
Eden
to like just
had begun.
rush in with, you know, random shit, random like cruisers and stuff.
Despite Eve's unwelcoming nature,
As long as we
the
keep to
promise
mainly
of such a
thrashers and we don't
cinematic
throw anything
multiplayer
special out,
experience
I'm not
was enticing
concerned.
to a wide breadth of players and drew a significant audience long before it had been released.
Rippy, just be ready
Starting on
to,
October
you know, jump
24th,
through
2002,
if, Sino
a
drops,
blurb
or, you know,
appended
help
to
us kill the
news
Sino.
releases would proclaim that the game would, quote, allow up to 100,000
Anybody that does
gamers
wanna
to
live-
compete simultaneously across a full 3D galaxy
So anybody that
of
does want to
5,000
live,
solar
if
systems.
something like
Currently,
big comes in
EVE
after
Online
us,
is in
get the
phase
hell out.
3
But
of
I'm
beta
keeping the
testing,
fleet
with
here.
thousands of
Like
gamers
I'm going to stay
playtesting
here
the
until I
game
die, and
daily,
then I'll hand off
trading in
fleet,
more than
or
300 fan
warp
and
us all
player
out 'cause
corporation
nobody's
sites.
taking
To
fleet.
date, there are more than 80,000 gamers signed up for the beta test, and at least 50,000
But no more
are
retreating.
estimated to
We're
participate
we
before the
forever
game is
stay where
launched.
we are. And
Just
we'll
like in
game
the
over
real
again.
world, money will be the commodity of choice. Players can earn cash by accepting work from non-player characters who will reward gamers with cash which can be traded for goods or other items. Also, gamers can earn money by working for a corporation. These corporations are comprised of gamers who have pooled their resources and are working together to dominate the universe. To date, there are more than 200 corporations already established, even though EVE Online has not yet been published. These corporations have elaborate web pages detailing infrastructure, location, business models, and mission statements. End quote. While this blurb
I really do have
emphasized
the best wife in the
competition in
world.
EVE
She
Online,
just
many were
handed me
more
a
excited
plate full of
about
food,
the concept of
then,
participating
she's
in
gonna
a perpetually
go
running
feed
economy
some of the
where
animals,
the
and then
goods
she's
that they
gonna jump on
harvested
and play
or
EVE with me.
created would be actively used by other players.
It is really free form. You can choose from a lot of
Yep.
possibilities. You can be a market operator, you can be a transporter, miner, you can operate a factory, you can research, you can operate a big corporation, you can have...
I actually got to know my
careers
wife.
within a corporation about being, by being the military arm or being the accountant of corporation. And the current games sort of more focus on
Yeah, it's really a
people
lifestyle.
going up against monsters, maybe in small groups, whereas EVE sort of focuses on building a society and supplying the tools and the rules to operate it.
At first, these news releases
kinda crazy.
announced that the game would be launched in March of 2003.
Kind of crazy.
But again, the
I
studio
met my wife.
needed
Not
a
met.
delay.
I like met
In
my
a
wife
press release,
before
the art director
we played
Rainier
EVE together.
Hardison stated that,
But
quote,
she ended up
"We have
moving
always
away.
stood
I only
firm
knew
on the
her for like a
commitment
really
to
little
release
while, and then she
EVE
went
only
to
when we
France.
felt it was time. Although the game is
And
nearly
then,
finished,
we
we
played
felt it
EVE
would be
together a
best
whole
to hold
bunch.
off an additional 6
I didn't
weeks.
actually start dating
This
until
will
like
allow us to
3 years
fully
later.
optimize the performance of our new server cluster, implement features we have promised, and continue testing to assure the elimination of bugs that would interfere with the player's ability to enjoy the EVE experience to its
I've always
fullest
had to have
potential.
like long-standing
End quote.
relationships with
These
like
delays
friendships
likely
with
made
women
prospective
before I'll
players
actually like date
nervous.
them.
Space games at the time
Like, I
had a
like friend
notorious
zone, like, all the
history of
women.
ever
Like,
extending
okay,
delays
like,
and under-delivering on
you gotta be
promised
my friend
features.
first, actually.
However, the iterative nature of MMOs such as EVE
She is
meant
my
that
wife.
any missing features could be
Yes,
added
is my wife.
later. And
Yeah, I
because
don't-
many players were able to
No-
test
no
the
kids.
game early, they could see how many features
I'm
were
40
being
years old
tested
now.
and what
All I
would
want to do
likely
is
be
play
available.
right and
As promised,
play
the
video
team at
games, go to Gen
CCP
Con,
were able
run
to
World of
meet the
Darkness
release
games.
goal and had sent the client to be printed by their partners for physical release in late April. And finally, on May 6th, 2003, players were able to play the final release of the game.
Oh yeah,
which
she gives me
features
shit
a
all the
total
time.
of 5,201
Like, I mean, good shit though. Like
star
friendly,
systems.
friendly
But
good
those
shit.
who had
Not the
participated in the
not the
alpha and beta
bullshit
were not
stuff that
novices.
I've had in
Their
relationships in my
months
life.
spent testing the game had given them
No, yeah, like a
significantly
good.
more
Have you ever
knowledge
just
and
had that really
experience
good
than
shit
those
where it's
entering
like,
New
oh,
Eden for the first time, and they had spent months strategizing with one another to decide how their first hours, days, and weeks would be utilized in order to make the most money and establish their presence most solidly. As a cheeky nod to their home country, the abbreviation for Icelandic kroner and the game's currency, interstellar credits, was the same. ISK. Many of the most organized groups scattered away from one another and prepared to lay
and this is
claim
why
to
I
their
should
own
normally have the
territory.
fleet muted.
However, they could not simply do so anywhere. EVE's star systems are connected in a web-like pattern with stargates, which may be used to traverse from one star to the next. In the center of this vast web is Empire Space, an area controlled by the non-player empires where people may fly their ships in relative safety. The safety afforded to players is determined by the star's security level, given a rating anywhere between 0 and 1, divided into 3 basic categories: high security, low security, and null security, or as they are typically called, high sec, low sec, and null sec. In high security space, the Empire police forces, named Concord, would intervene in any aggression between players, affording some level of safety in these areas. In contrast, aggression would not summon protection in low security space, but the offending players would be granted a suspect status that would make them a target both for players and Empire forces. However, for the groups looking to establish their own presence in space, the most tantalizing area was nullsec, surrounding Empire space in a large ring. Here, there were no laws, no rules, and no protections, other than whatever the players could enforce, and many were eager to establish themselves in this new and vast frontier, rich in the most valuable resources. But holding on to these regions would require work and coordination, and so
I'm gonna
the
perform a summoning
corporations that
spell
had
real quick. I'll be
organized
back
before
in
the
like
release
35
of the game
seconds.
began to establish themselves in particular regions of space that they found enticing. The factors involved in these choices varied from proximity to Empire space to what resources were available. First, though, the corporations would require ships, and to buy and equip these ships, they would need resources and money. While the EVE developers wanted to provide a world where the trade of goods was managed almost entirely by players, they realized that in the early stages of the game, no player economy would be established yet, and so they allowed non-player characters to buy and sell some of these commodities in order to stimulate the player economy. This provided an early revenue stream to players who quickly devised a plan to make significant amounts of capital during this crucial early stage. This plan was based around the daily server downtime, which occurred at 11 a.m. UTC. Andrew Groen detailed what he called the merchant races in his seminal work on the history of New Eden named Empires of Eve. Quote, "Back in the earliest
Wait,
days
did the
of
summoning
Eve,
spell
one of
bring
the best
something just
ways
as
to
I
make
sat down?
money was by buying and selling commodities in different markets across the game.
Wow.
Later, EVE would place all of its emphasis on a player-controlled market, but in the early days, players could buy items and wares from characters in stations all over the game and then sell them elsewhere. What resulted was a daily series of early morning races along the most profitable trade routes. Merchants would log in as quickly as possible after the server came back online from the daily maintenance shutdown and fly down the trade routes to the most profitable destinations.
Woo, that guy disappeared.
End quote. Trading was far from the only profession that players were looking to exploit. The factories required to build ships in EVE were a limited resource, and so, upon the release of the game, players scrambled to buy these factories as quickly as possible. However, there was an issue. Due to its worldwide release, players in the UK were able to purchase the physical copies of the game before anyone else, and therefore they could buy the factories much earlier than anywhere in the world. These buyers were more than just hopeful industrialists. Many of the factories had been purchased by real estate speculators, hoping to sell these factories for
Dude,
a
travel
higher
in
price,
EVE is such a
with no
fucking weird
intention of
concept that
constructing
that you
ships.
don't have to deal with in
According to
almost
early
any other
player
game.
Ramin Shahrazad, quote, "Within days of the retail launch, all factories had been bought up and idled by speculators, who were charging $300 to $400 per factory, without any way of knowing if they really owned the factory or not." End quote. If speculators were idling the factories, then that meant fewer ships, restricting players from
It also
accessing
killed their
the core
servers.
mechanics of the game. This illustrated two challenges that the developers of EVE now faced: managing a complicated economy to keep the game fun and interesting, and struggling against the black market. Black market economies for MMOs like EVE are not only common, but inevitable. While developers typically will include clauses in their terms of service that stipulate against it, players are usually undeterred from trading in-game assets for real-world currency, and the consequences for doing so only tend to involve an easily circumvented ban,
definitely,
which is only implemented if they're caught.
Definitely
And
winter,
so,
because
many of
winter
the
of 2006, because that's when I started for real with Frozen Fallout. But I did play in 2005, so I knew about warp to shit, basically warp to 15 on everything. And then, but I didn't really play during that time. And then I also played during the beta, which also had that was even worse. That was when you jumped a gate, you just like ended up in the same spot, and there was no gate. There was just
more, the game world was almost preposterously
I don't think there was
massive,
ever any.
especially
I think
for the
that's a
time,
myth.
and players were spread thinly across New Eden. But according to Hilmar Pettersson in an interview for Down the Rabbit Hole, this was in part by design. Quote, "EVE is about people sailing into the starry night in ships. That's sort of the inception story of Iceland, Vikings escaping taxation from Norway and hoping that there's a new land somewhere. You can just imagine being on a quiet ocean in the night, looking at the night sky, sailing on a Viking ship.
For real.
EVE definitely has those kinds of feelings. You can look up and see the Milky Way, and so the inception of the game and the country are not far apart. Iceland is this place that really wants to kill you. You get a very distinct feeling of that when you're a child growing up there. There's volcanoes, there's lava, there are earthquakes, there are freezing gale winds unpredictably any month of the year.
Even with that
It's a
cloak, though, he
very
is aligning
hostile
fairly
environment.
fucking quick.
EVE is like that. It has the toughest environment, but to some extent, the nicest people. People in Iceland are nice because we've been forced to learn how to cooperate, because the people who didn't cooperate are already frozen to the ground. EVE is kind of like that. It forces you to cooperate with others because alone you can't really achieve your full potential in EVE. It pushes you to connect with others. There are aspects of the game that almost intentionally make you feel lonely when you're alone.
I know we got another one.
And that creates the foundation of the friendship machine, as we call it. This forced cooperation due to the hostileness of the environment and, later on, other players. That has created a very strong bond between people that play together in the game. End quote.
Yeah.
This forced cooperation manifested as new
Yeah,
players
no, I
quickly
have
gathering
flown
together for safety
every
in this
class
alien
in this game. I can
world.
fly
While
pretty much
numerous
every
small
ship in this
corporations
game
endeavored to
except
eventually take
that
and hold
motherfucking
nullsec
Titan.
territory, it was much easier
also-
in this early stage for players
Oh, yeah,
to
if
base
I
their
really-
operations in Empire space and
I've
venture out
never
into
needed it,
nullsec
though.
to gather valuable resources from these unprotected systems then return with a haul and sell or utilize what they gathered. But with so many players traveling through Nullsec, a clear method of generating profit emerged, one that played into the fantasies of many science fiction enthusiasts.
Now that is the true completionist
Piracy.
right there.
Traveling together in small bands, pirates began roving the common lanes that miners and traders would take from Empire space through Nullsec, seeking quarries. To do so, pirates would designate one or more of their group members.
Well, she said
to
that she was
act
going to
as
be
a
around here doing
tackler,
pod killing
tasked with
in the stream.
ensnaring their target, and to do so, they would outfit their ship with specific modules. First was the stasis webifier, which, when applied to a target, would reduce their speed, making it nearly impossible to evade weapons fire. Second, and most important in a pirate's arsenal, was the warp disruptor, which, true to its name, would prevent a ship from entering faster than light travel and escaping. Both of these components would be placed in the mid-power slots, making the tackler more vulnerable than its compatriots, and so it would rely upon its allies.
Well, we
while
do have some
engaging a
thrashers that are
target.
way off.
This, however, would often be unnecessary, as traders and miners were
I should say we have
frequently
one thrasher that's
unfamiliar
way
with
off.
combat, making them easy prey. To counteract this, these more peaceful players would chart new routes and learn tricks to evade pirates, initiating an ever-evolving game of cat and mouse. An early
If you don't want to
player
die, get
named
off the
Night
fleet.
Freeze recounted their experience on
If you
their
don't want to
first
die, get off the
trading run,
fucking
shipping
gate, but I'm
goods
going to
that they
stay.
had bought
Everybody who
with
stays
weeks'
here,
worth of
we're going to
ISK.
fucking fight.
Quote, at the time, I naively believed that any security rating above 0.0 would be safe because nobody would be ballsy enough to dare provoke the wrath of the 5-0 in space. I turned out to be wrong. I knew that something was wrong when my ship started to beep and a red target lock cursor appeared in the horizon with the name Deathbringer. The beeping accelerated and a red square appeared around my ship. Since I hadn't even bothered trying to fight a training pirate yet, I had no idea what the heck was going on. He sent a message to me, 250k or die. I responded to him, okay, the sweat dripping down my armpits past my side and accumulating in a little puddle at the edge of my shirt. 5 or more seconds must have passed as I fumbled for the micro warp drive hotkey, and just as they started to warm up, the first missile slammed into my ship. The warp gate was 15,000 meters away. I had to be within 800 meters to pass through it, and I was currently flying at about 300 meters per second. A second missile exploded against the hull, bringing down my shields and tearing apart my hull. I knew that if one more missile hit me, my ship would be nothing more than space debris, and this who couldn't even spell death correctly would have access to all I had worked for. Come on, you fucking pieces of shit, I shouted at the monitor. My dog started to bark in the background, but I could barely hear it. The only thing that mattered was the gate, because I knew that if I had lost that cargo, all my week's worth of hard work and all my finely tuned bullshit would be down the drain. Whoosh! I hadn't used the micro warp drive since the night before and forgot about just how
the line!
I was now shooting toward the warp gate at 3.5 kilometers per second, and all Deathbringer had to account for his 2 expensive missiles was a trail of dust. If you're reading this right now, Death, I'd like to give you a hearty f*** you. I arrived at the specified starbase in the Galente region, my ship battered and bruised, and my ego several sizes smaller. I sold the computer hardware for a total of 3.7 million credits.
Alright, well, let's do
the
this.
Hull repairs amounted to 100k. I felt my heart with my left hand. It was still pulsing rapidly, and the realization that I had netted 600,000 credits in 25 minutes, along with a healthy dose of action, sent it shooting up even further. I did several more trade routes that morning, and by 9 a.m., my credit count read 5,700,000
Alright, get ready, battle comms.
credits. End quote. No matter what tricks were discovered, however, piracy remained a lucrative trade due to the heavy traffic in the lanes used to haul ore. Because of the distance.
First one, we're taking it down, and then just follow my orders.
To Empire space and little safe way to store it during the process, A mining operation would often consist of one mining ship to pull the ore from the asteroids and 5 or more transport ships to haul it back to Empire space, all of which were easy
Battle comms.
targets. Soon, piracy was lucrative enough for the first pirate gangs to lay claim to territory in Nullsec. Outfitted with various combat ships, they moved into the most valuable star systems.
It's I'm FC. That's fine. Go.
Mining and transport ships.
Caracal, get him.
On occasion, groups of pirates would find trade routes frequented by the more economy-minded
Get that
players
Kiki, get the
and
Kiki,
perform
get the
one of
Kiki.
the most feared and most obnoxious practices to those in Empire space: a gate camp. Essential for transit between systems, stargates also acted as choke points for players to exploit.
Do not go after the Kiki anymore.
Linking two systems
Pull
together.
back unless you're right
So,
on top of them.
Pirates would often wait at these combined
Pull off of
ingress
them if
and
you're
egress
not on them,
points
though.
in
Oh
low
yeah, keep those
security
drones on them
space,
though. Yeah.
waiting for unsuspecting players to appear and destroying their ship, sometimes before they could even load the new system. Eventually, CCP
Oh, I thought there was
were
one more
forced
that jumped
to add
into us.
auto
Okay.
turrets onto stargates to prevent routes from being blockaded for long stretches of time. In the months following the release of the game, CCP was
Alright, we're
also
standing
able
ground,
to
we're standing
address the
ground. Go
issue
after
of those
Villa and
who
the
had
Crow.
bought factories for resale
Broadcasted,
by a
Villa and the Crow.
relatively simple method. In order to keep a factory, the player
Okay, now
would be forced to pay a
LIK.
maintenance fee for
Broadcasted,
it,
LIK.
relative to the amount of money that could potentially be made from its output. In essence, a land value tax. Just as in
Alright,
the
free
real
fire,
world,
free fire, free
this
fire.
made the factories a significant financial burden to speculators who weren't using them, leveraging the speculators to either begin producing ships or sell the factories to someone who would. In short
Ooh, get that
order,
Caracal, get the Caracal.
factories were serving their intended purpose. The game hadn't even been live
Broadcasted
for 3
Caracal.
months, and already CCP
Get that other
was
Caracal,
being
get the other
forced to
Caracal.
adjust their game to contend with the space game enthusiasts, notorious for exploiting any system that
ENT,
they could as a part of their fun,
and then LOD,
while simultaneously
or
attempting
LOU.
to complete the systems that they
Ooh,
had
get that
intended
Caracal.
for the game. And these new systems promise to create even more unforeseen and perhaps unmanageable problems.
LUH, go for Brock, actually. Broadcasted Brock, go for Brock. Frozen Fallout's down, somebody call targets.
Over the following months, the more adventurous corporations began to establish themselves in Nullsec, and already the diplomatic situations in different regions were developing in distinct ways. These early groups of players, typically no more than a few dozen people, would form the first alliances with one another to stave off competition, typically naming themselves after the region of space that they inhabited. In this early stage of the game, there was no way for players to officially lay claim to territory, but over a decade later, Andrew Groen would resurrect information that had largely been lost by trawling through long-abandoned forum threads and speaking with numerous leaders from the time. And by doing so, he managed to chart early Nullsec. To the southeast was the pirate nation of the Curse Alliance, who frequently warred with the rigid and authoritarian Stain Alliance. To the west and the north were the Fountain Alliance, the Coalition of Free Stars, and Venal Alliance, which boasted more democratic systems of governance between their constituent corporations. While a significant contingent of players sought to take and hold territory in Nullsec, most made their home in Empire space. Though maintaining a Nullsec presence was lucrative, it was also difficult and time-consuming, and for most, this was a distraction from the more specific activities which drew them to EVE. This
Think
also
you're
meant
almost
that
by
much
yourself.
of the
Oh, there's a
money
couple
within
more.
the player economy was held in Empire space.
Ooh,
And
got another,
so,
just got
even
another
Nullsec
person showed up
powers
to
would
save
have
you. Come
enter
on,
this
get him.
safer territory and trade with the players there, though many Nullsec dwellers found them tepid. For the industrialists, trading with Empire space was not only efficient, but necessary. While the most valuable materials were in Nullsec, The basic materials required for all ships could only be found in Empire space.
We don't have
and
no
so
reps, man.
It was impossible to maintain a nullsec presence without
But
some
with pretty
sort
much
of
nothing
supply
left
line
on the
to
field
high
except
sec
for a
and
Kiki and a
low sec.
Crow right
This
now. But
meant
if we
that
can get,
these two worlds
can
of
we get
Eve,
I
while
mean
in
the
most
enemies.
ways separate,
So
were
can we get
fundamentally
reship?
tied
If you
to
can
one
reship,
another.
we want to
And while
take
the
that
flow of
field so we can
resources
take that
between the
loot.
two was
I want that
imperative,
loot
the
for
most stark
reimbursement.
example of this interplay was illustrated in the mercenary corporations. Varying widely in terms of background, these mercenaries would take contracts to harangue whatever target was desired, and during this early stage, their prices were often cheap.
Whew,
with
that
the
was
thrill of
fucking
the fight being a
awesome!
part of the reward. The people or corporation issuing the contract could also be kept secret at their behest, and in this way, competitors could be weakened or eliminated without any fighting on the part of the buyer. Pirate gangs were eager to loan out their services for interstellar
Okay, yep, they've
credits,
retaken
but
the
many
field
of them
here with
were
their condors.
unaccustomed to attacking targets that fought back, and so a niche began to
Yep, they
develop
just came
for
back.
players who had
Yep,
experienced
good. Post
not
up,
only trapping
and get back to
vulnerable
Hey
targets,
Dealies.
but
If you're
engaging
in a
proper
danger
fleet-based
zone,
combat.
I
As the
would
demand
say
increased,
get in your
various
pod
new
and get your back
mercenary
with a
groups
pod.
were beginning to form,
Set your
often
home
out of
station, stuff like
ragtag
that.
clusters of
In order to do
players
that.
who were more familiar with the practice of combat than theory. But sometimes it was simply enough
Got
for
a
a
kill mail?
player to be familiar with combat to disrupt the supply lines of more economy-oriented corporations and allow their competitors to surpass them. Such aggression meant that most every corporation needed to be prepared for a fight, and so they began to learn the methods by which to defend themselves, along with hiring their own mercenaries to protect their ships.
Yeah, we're completely
meaning that
abandoning
anyone
field.
paid to disrupt another corporation had to expect pushback. While miners often weren't familiar with
tricks,
the
yep.
finer points of combat, many already had the
Ooh,
most
we gotta get
important
a
equipment
kill
necessary to
battle
participate.
report on that.
A
I'm gonna.
battleship.
So I found
During this time,
that
there were no
I can get
ships
ChatGPT
dedicated
to
mining,
read a
and
battle
so
report
miners chose the ships
and
with
to
the most
create, and then
available
you got the
price slots for
timeline in the
mining
battle
lasers.
report. Because if you
A
go
particular
into a battle
favorite
report
was
and go into the battle
Apocalypse,
report
which
tool,
boasted
there's a
8 high slots
timeline,
and a
and
large
you can get
capacitor.
exactly
All the
when
miners
people
had
die.
to do was trade their mining equipment for weapons, and they were ready to defend themselves in a minimal fashion. What had once effectively been paid piracy was
Go back
more
to
and
Hey Die
more
Less.
becoming obsolete, and in its place was mercenary work. Among these early mercenaries were a few corporations that attracted attention. Unparalleled were the Masters of Ownage, or Mu, who had become infamous after their gate camp in Mara and Pasari that shut down trade in the north for weeks. But there were a few smaller corporations that were beginning to gain a reputation, namely Body Count Inc. This group,
Yeah, if you've got a
led by the
station near you or
charismatic
something, I
Celine,
just
was
dock
one of
up
the
and go in
first to
pods.
dedicate all of their
No need to
corporation's
waste
time
ships
to
on gate
handling
camps.
mercenary
We just
contracts.
need to
And
gather
while they
back up. I'll
accepted
give you a
paltry
ship. So
sums to begin, their fees grew as both the demand for mercenaries and the demand
but we
for
will
Body
take a little
Count
bit of a
Inc.
break here.
increased. But
Keep
as
on letting
mercenary
people know what's going on and
corporations
what's
fought
out
one
there,
another,
just
there
so
was a
that people that are
surprising effect,
traveling
since
for whatever
warfare
reason,
never
it's something
resulted
they
in
don't
the
want to
permanent
lose.
deaths of any of the
There's
players.
multiple
It
reasons
was
to be had
possible
for
to
sure.
fight against particular
But
enemies
we'll
repeatedly,
take
and
another,
as they did,
say,
they
10-minute
grew
break here
familiar
real
with
quick,
one
just
another,
to
especially
cool down
those
after
who could
that. That
fight
was a fucking
exceptionally
awesome
well.
battle,
Such
though, guys.
exemplary
Like, well
pilots would
done.
sometimes impress their enemies so much that they would be invited to join those they had fought. And so,
Yeah, so I
core
can,
tenet of EVE Online
so
was
I could get
discovered.
ChatGPT
In
to
the
give me
words of
like a
Celine,
really in-depth
quote, "The
report
best way to
of it,
recruit
like that, or
people
not just
is
a
by
report, but
shooting
like a
them."
story. Like
And
you can get it
so,
to be
the
like, hey,
best
tell me a
pilots in the
story
game
about
began
this,
to
and like
conglomerate into groups
it does.
and charge hefty
It does
prices
make
for
shit
their
up,
services,
but
prices
it does
that
take a lot of that
corporations were more
information
than
into
willing
account
to
too, and
pay
it
in this
and
key
it all
moment
depends
in
on
the
how you
history
handle
of the economy
ChatGPT. I'm
of
learning
EVE.
that like if you
During
just
the
say
production
do
of the
something
game,
and
one
it's
of
like
the
it didn't do what I
envisioned
want to
roles
do,
in
and it's
EVE
like, yeah, did you
Online
just
was
hand
that of
somebody
trader,
up
traveling
like that
from
has never
location to
seen what a
location in order to
spoon
find
or
places
anything
to
is?
buy goods low and sell high based on an asymmetry of information. Players would only be able to see the goods on offer in their current region, and then they would have to travel to the southern,
that
and the
Chad
player economy began to
GPT.
establish itself. The need for a centralized hub of commerce grew. In order to maximize visibility and convenience, many
Yeah.
chose one particular system from which to base their trade: Uli. Yulai was a natural choice, given that it was a high-security system with the maximum value of 1, meaning that trading there was remarkably safe. But more importantly, it resided at the precise center of Empire space, making a trip to Yulai a reasonable distance, no matter where a player was. Soon, all manner of players were traveling to Yulai in order to buy and sell goods, and almost anything could be purchased there. This posed a problem. So many players in a system taxed the game servers heavily, and if too many people began to use Yulai as a trade hub, then the servers would be unable to accommodate them. But soon, an even greater existential threat to the game would appear.
Yeah, give me. Wow, we killed so much.
Toward the end of 2003, the deal that CCP had made with its publishing companies was concluding, but Simon & Schuster had no intention of renewing the deal, and so they reached an agreement that would return the publishing rights to the game developer. And while they had no infrastructure or connections to print physical copies of the game, CCP had another plan. On December 3rd, 2003,
Yeah, give me a minute here. I'll bring you outside. Don't worry.
On their website, quote, CCP, the developer of the highly acclaimed MMORPG title EVE Online, announced today that it has regained the publishing rights for the title worldwide and will start distributing it as a direct download from the internet. We are very pleased to be in a position where we can contribute
I was thinking,
to both development and
I was thinking if we could
publishing,
just
says
all
Ivor
go
Christiansen,
in just like a
CEO
bunch of dummies.
CCP.
Like if we just
have
get like
reached an
100
agreement
dummies
with
together.
Simon & Schuster
we just
Incorporated
big
and
dummy
Vivendi
ball, it'll be great.
International regarding Canada and North America, as well as with Crucial Limited for Europe. We expect the downloadable version to increase global sales sharply. Our player base has been growing steadily since the launch of EVE Online in May. Our game servers are in good shape, and we are technically ready for much faster growth now, says Hilmar V. Pedersen, CCP's Chief Technical Officer. The player community is a great source of new ideas for the future development of the game. EVE Online is an evolving, living game, and we can't wait to see how the players will react to some of the new stuff we will be adding in the future. End quote. But this
It is pretty much a
optimism was
dominatrix.
undermined by the problems that Yulai now presented. As mentioned previously, the game's server architecture was designed so that each region in the game world was managed by a different server. However, the newest processors at the time proved to be suboptimal for CCP's purposes, and so, even the latest CPU technologies wouldn't help to bolster their servers for the influx of players, specifically the growing population in
Oh, guys,
Yulai.
I wish you guys could
Theoretically,
hear
this
what's
could have
happening
been
on
solved
chat right
by
now. It's
changing
just
the regions that
on
each
voice
server
comms right
managed,
now.
and perhaps utilizing a specific server for Yulai. But with the volume of players that Yulai threatened to host, not even
Yeah, it's
a dedicated
very, very
server for that
active
star
out there right
system
now. I
would
would
be
just go
enough.
with the pot. I
What's
can throw
more,
you something.
players were beginning to discover exploits that threatened their faith in the game to function as it was intended. On March 3rd, 2004, a corporation named Zombies Inc. descended upon Yulai with a single Apocalypse battleship and a bevy of dedicated logistics ships, parking themselves near a Stargate, approximately where players would arrive when entering the system or approaching the gate to leave. The Apocalypse was equipped with a special kind of weapon, a smart bomb. When activated, this niche weapon would deal massive damage to everything within a certain distance of the user, whether ally or enemy. As soon as ships appeared, the pilot of the Apocalypse activated his smart bombs, and his targets were instantly destroyed. As Yulai was a system with a 1.0 security rating, Concord appeared almost instantly in order to destroy the offending player, but as soon as they did, the logistics ships began repairing it from just outside of the radius of the smart bombs as Concord ships approached and were destroyed in the successive blasts. Now, not only were hapless players being destroyed in Uli, but so were the game's NPC police. While Concord attacked the Apocalypse battleship, the logistics ships were entirely ignored. This was due to an oversight that Zombies Inc. had discovered. While attacking another ship in Empire space would grant the player a wanted status and summon the police, repairing another ship would not, even if the player receiving the repairs was wanted. Having estimated the damage output of Concord's ships, Zombies Inc. had brought just enough logistics capability to outpace the damage that
Man, that was a
Concord
crazy
could
fight,
deal,
though.
making the Apocalypse practically invulnerable.
Dude, man,
Any
that
players
that
attempting to
way to go,
intervene
guys.
by
Way to
attacking
stand your
the
ground too
logistics
to the
ships
very
would,
fucking
in
last.
turn,
Like there was
be
not a
destroyed
single
by
person
Concord,
complaining
since,
or
by the
talking
game's
about how they
definition,
died,
they
or
were
it just
innocent.
people were dying, and
So,
that's
they
fine.
were able to
And
continue
we're
their
just gonna keep on
slaughter
going
in
down to the
Uli
very
for an
last. Like
unrecorded
Helicon at the
period of
end there
time.
was just like, I'm just
Victims
gonna
of
keep on
Zombies Inc.
fucking
went to the
punching
forums to
people, man.
complain,
Like I don't
and
care. Get
soon,
the fuck
even
off
those
me,
who
man.
hadn't encountered the small fleet were complaining to the developers that trade through Uli, and therefore in much of the game, had been brought to a halt due to an exploit. CCP's game masters contacted the perpetrators and instructed them to cease. Zombies Inc. declined. A post made to the forum by the game masters describes the incident in full. Quote, "As a lot of you are aware, a certain corp willingly exploited a fault in the game mechanics and managed to kill over 100
Sorry,
people
stream,
in
I
the
haven't been paying
supposedly
attention,
secure
so
UI system last night.
F
We
that
have
Mullis.
decreed
Just to let you
that
know,
those who
Triple
were
likes
the
to know,
recipients of
like
this
the
heinous
Mullis
crime will be
pilot
fully
to know to F
reimbursed for
off
their loss.
because
If you are one of those who lost your belongings and still haven't petitioned us, please do so and we will see to it that your possessions are returned to you. The exploiters have received a ban for their efforts, and anyone thinking of following their example should be aware
nice
that the
fucking
same
nice
fate awaits
job,
them.
man.
The GM team." End quote. While players were in general glad to have the Uli system cleared, this set a new precedent. With pompous rhetoric, the game masters declared that they would not allow players to bend the rules farther than CCP dictated, but how much was too much was left unspecified. In this case, a rule was codified and enforced.
So
as
I'm
an
having
event was taking
ChatGPT write
place,
up a battle
namely that players were not
story
allowed to
for that
survive
battle report,
indefinitely against
and I'm
Concord
gonna
in
post
high
it here, and then
security
I'm gonna
space.
have it
Anything that
just
allowed
auto
them to do
play
so
on
would
my
be considered an
or like a
exploit, and
text to
therefore
voice
a
on my
bannable offense.
podcast while I go to the
However
bathroom real
necessary
quick
it may
here.
have
But it
been,
looks
and however popular the decision may
I
have
built a
been with
robot.
players, it established the company in an adversarial role to many of its players, especially the ones most interested in experimentation. Though trade could
Yeah,
once
I can
again
definitely.
travel through Uli, this did not lead to the rise of any powerful
It
high-sec
couldn't get that out of
corporations
the-
due to a particular mechanic. While players were safe from wanton attacks from other players in high-sec space, and
It's
players in
possible if it's
low-sec
fed
space
that
were
information,
risking their
it'll
lives by
pull it all.
attacking other
Now,
players, there was a way for players
yeah,
to
but
attack
there's
one
no
another
way for
safely,
it to figure it
even
out with
while
the data that we
Concord
can
was
give it.
present.
But I can manually
A
tell
war
it to.
declaration. By paying a fee every
Yep,
week,
that's what
a
I'm gonna do.
corporation could declare war against another and be granted the right to attack any of their ships on site, often referred to as bribing
What
the
ship did
police.
you lose?
This meant that, whenever a high-sec corporation became powerful enough, other corporations would
Oh,
band
cool.
together
Then
to
yeah, I
check
won't
it
mention you
and
by
prevent
name in
it
the
from
story, but I
becoming too
will. I
powerful
mentioned
and
that
affecting a
happened for
monopoly.
sure.
Even so, there were enough
I've been having a lot of
individuals and
fun,
small
like storytelling
corporations
and
trading
building
out
like
of
things. And
Uli
one
the
thing that I've
servers
noticed though
began
is
to
because
lag.
I have
This
like
was not a difficult threshold to reach. Despite boasting about high potential player counts, EVE Online required less than 100 players to be present in the system before problems began to manifest. But as Crowd Control Productions was contending with Uli, the initial powers of nullsec were beginning to fracture, and soon, divisions would spark conflict that would push their server infrastructure to its limits. To the north, bad blood born from the early wars over sovereignty was beginning to heat. Due to the global nature of the game, CCP realized that implementing a fair method of territory control would require something more complicated than a simple attack and hold method. Otherwise, a corporation could simply attack another.
He's streaming, so they
during their
can't
and
fight
then
with
a
him about that.
counterattack could be launched, enacting a never-ending back and forth which would discourage any sort of decisive conflict. Therefore, they designed the reinforcement system. In order to capture a starbase, a faction would have to attack it twice. The first time, they would simply be able to reduce its hull to 25%. Upon reaching this number, the starbase would enter reinforcement mode, during which it could not be damaged for a length of time contingent upon the amount of strontium fuel with which it had been equipped, with more strontium meaning a longer reinforcement period. Most importantly, since strontium gradually was depleted, the amount could be manipulated in order to bring the starbase out of reinforcement mode during active hours for the defending alliance. In this way, holding starbases was feasible without always having players online. But these stations were more than just static buildings. Player-owned stations, or POSes, were designed in such a way as to allow a defender an advantage. Most immediately, a station could be equipped with automatic weapons that required no player input, adding firepower to any defensive endeavor. Even unequipped, however, the
Wow,
station still
nice.
boasted a wide shield which could only be passed if the player had the correct password. While the station could be attacked from the outside, any ship within the shield could not, but similarly, any ship inside the shield could not attack any ship outside of it, granting a small armistice zone to which a defending fleet could retreat during a battle and placing an onus upon the attackers to either focus enough fire on the station to reinforce or destroy it, or destroy any damaged ships before they could retreat to the safety of the shield. Extra ships could be stored inside of these stations as well, allowing players to re-equip themselves for combat if they lost their ship. In order to claim a system, all a corporation had to do was own the majority of starbases. Now was a key time to claim and capture territory before anyone else could lay their own claims and force their opponents to wrest control for them. As well as starbases being constructed, it is extremely vulnerable. Mercenary Coalition even posted a video to the forums of the time they were hired exclusively to stand as bodyguards for an infant starbase, which they affectionately referred to as an egg. Once claimed, the owning faction could place an outpost in the system, a significant boom. As opposed to POSes, outposts were indestructible, making goods stored there much safer, but they also acted as places where goods could be listed for sale. Anything bought or sold there, or any minerals refined there, would be taxed, with the money being placed in the bank account of the corporation. Taking territory now, before other alliances could place their starbases and claim control over systems, was vital, and it would lead to a war that the servers of EVE Online could scarcely handle. The opening engagement of this first large-scale war of EVE Online was described by Andrew Groen in Empires of EVE. Quote, "Both sides opened fire, unleashing a stream of missiles, railguns, and laser munitions, the sheer number of which had never been seen before in New Eden. With nearly 300 people in the battle, the EVE servers strained under the weight of this enormous cataclysm, and strange things began to happen. Missiles disappeared out of thin air, ships exploded seemingly without having been touched, pilots were kicked offline without warning, then reappeared in a different part of the solar system and in a different ship." End quote. Such conditions were unfavorable for either side, and fleet commanders eventually learned to ration their pilots.
Alright, so if you guys go to After Action Reports, if you want to check it out, see what crazy weird story that ChatGPT pulled out of thin fucking air, basically.
But nullsec wasn't the
It's actually like it gives a lot of details. Like, so the one thing I was saying before is that one of the things that's interesting about ChatGPT is that you can solidly overload it with information. Because like I'm like been doing a lot of writing and been doing a lot of stuff for gaming for the last 40 years of my fucking life. Well, 27 years or whatever. But
and here they took drastic action.
Like,
You
just when
live as a
I
popular
tried to
trading
build
hub
my
due
book
to
at
its
first, I just
centralized
threw all the
location,
information that I
which
had, all
boasted
the docs
safe
and shit that I
passage
had, and
from
it
all
grabbed like a
corners
lot
of
of it. But
And
after a
so,
while,
the
it just
company
loses
took the
track of
simplest
what the
option.
fuck it has in
They
its
severed
database.
most of the connections. In short order, the traders had scattered. Without a central hub, trade quickly was redistributed
Oh,
into quadrants
this-
of empire space.
So this
These
is
placed in
Marvin.
the
I've
4
built
different
Marvin, which is a
NPC
special
empires,
AI that does
further
battle reports
destabilizing
for
the
me. He's
market
based off
that
of the
already
Hitchhiker's
was
Guide from the
facing the
Galaxies Marvin,
destabilization
but
of vital
he's
resources
really
from
depressed all the
Nortec
time, but he
due to a
loves the
war
fucking
raging in
Galente.
the north.
And
Without
so,
the
and he hates the
relatively safe
Keldari.
routes
So he
through
just
UI,
always disses the
empire space
Keldari
was
and is
severed in
always
two
like
by
pumping up the
low-security
Galente.
choke points through which traders had to travel. Choke points that could
This
easily
is
be exploited by pirates, further segmenting
It's
the
for
economy.
small
But
storytelling,
soon, a new
building
strain would be
concepts and
placed
stuff like
on the
that. It's really
servers.
great. It's
In
it's
early
not like it's not
2004,
real
the
AI, but
competition for EVE
yeah,
Online,
it's but
Earth and
it
Beyond
does
was ended.
barely.
EVE had already enticed many of its players.
One thing that you
away
have to
in
be
the
careful
beta
about with
stages
any
of its
coding or
game,
anything
and
is that
now,
basically
as Earth and
instead of
Beyond was
spending your
closing
time
its
doing the
servers, a
coding, you're
sizable
spending your
portion of
time
its
fighting with
players were migrating to
ChatGPT
EVE
over
Online,
how it does
while
coding.
CCP's digital distribution method was a gamble at the time, and it could easily take over 24
Yeah.
hours to download the game with contemporary internet speeds. It meant that those moving from Earth and Beyond to EVE Online could easily download the client for the game and join relatively quickly, attracting a massive influx of players.
Yes, for stuff like this though, it's super epic because it's like, I mean, I just spent what, like 10 minutes there, like, and I just whipped up a 3-page story and like a battle that was like it's just pulling from a battle report and then spending a lot of time throwing stories and throwing like stuff at it to like train it to be like, this is the kind of sarcastic bullshit I want you to say for me.
Quote, the upgrade program
But that
will
actually
include
is not
a
that hard to do.
no-obligation free trial of EVE Online and a walkthrough of the game by a
All right, cool.
member of the
I'm
EVE
going
volunteer.
to take a
The
small
EVE
break here.
volunteer will explain to the
And I know, well, I was doing all the ChatGPT things, and I have to go to the bathroom though, and my dog needs to go outside. Well, my puppy needs to go to the bathroom, but yeah, I think she'll be jumping up pretty soon here. No, I'll take her out. You can tell her all about her puppy though.
Docking request accepted.
Alright, sorry guys, we are back.
User the differences
back on
between
here
the
for
two
you guys.
games
Sorry about
and
that.
ease the transition into EVE from Earth and Beyond.
Okay.
End quote. These new players were entering the game during a time
So,
of extreme
I'm a big
instability
Doge
in
here.
the in-game
Yeah.
economy, and only
My
a
Doge
few
is on
months
the
after
stream,
these
by the
new
way, if you
players
want to see a
joined
big
and were
Doge.
attempting to establish themselves, nullsec was
Yeah.
fractured. The offer that CCP had made to Earth and Beyond players proved to be a resounding success, and many groups in the dying game moved wholesale from one game to the other, providing them with an immediate source of manpower.
Okay,
However,
let's do this
those
already.
more aimless players coalesced into a new corporation which they named
Alright.
Celestial Horizon. With thousands
If you're in
of
Hey
players,
Dealies, go ahead and trade
already
Frozen
massive
Fallout. I'll get you a
Celestial
Thrasher.
Horizon had a far larger population than the vast majority of other corporations in New Eden, and even though they were inexperienced, their numbers alone quickly made them into an industrial superpower who spent their early months in Empire space stockpiling liquid assets, their size making them largely unassailable. This chaos meant opportunity for many new players, and some of the loudest were the goons.
Yeah.
Goon is an epithet worn proudly by the early internet users posting on the Something Awful forums, a group known for their irreverent, provocative manner. As online documentarian Bernie notes in his history of the site's operator, even the name Goon originates from the letter of an angry web admin who had been featured on the Something Awful website and subsequently harassed by its forum members. Noticing the extremely accessible method of distribution that CCP had adopted, some members of the board began posting threads encouraging other members to download the game and join. However, due to their inherently chaotic nature, it was difficult to wrangle them toward any common goal, and over the months, numerous goon-led corporations congealed and collapsed due to petty infighting. Andrew Groan chronicles the early months of the goons' presence in the game, where, after numerous attempts, one leader was able to coax enough of them into a single corporation, which was named Goonfleet. Their capabilities, however, were obviously lacking, given that almost every single player entering the corporation was entirely new to the game, with their only qualification being that they were a member of the Something Awful forums. They even paid to have banner advertisements displayed on Something Awful, encouraging members to join Goonfleet, hoping to attract a large volume of players, regardless of skill. When a new member joined Goonfleet, they would immediately be given a ship and a personal lesson on how to play the game, but even so, they were woefully ineffective. This was a feature that they owned and incorporated into their fleet tactics. Rather than trying to field effective ships, they simply would outfit themselves in some of the cheapest
All
ships
right,
and
finally, we've got
modules
everything
that the
all
game had
handed
to
out.
offer and swarm their target. The majority of the time, this would end in failure, but because so little capital had been invested, the losses were never substantial, and so they would throw themselves wantonly into battles, declaring their motto in the local chat: "We're terrible at this game." Their practices, however, gave them a particular reputation with the rest of New Eden. Only those who had an active account at least 3 months old on the Something Awful forums were allowed into the corporation, but those who applied weren't always simply rejected. Responding to a thread from someone looking to join a corporation, one player said in the EVE Online forums that, quote, "Goonfleet don't recruit in-game. Any advice you get to the contrary will be from a goon trying to swindle you out of your assets. They'll charge an application fee or some such. Then when you are successful, they will
Alright, well,
offer
let's
to
get this
courier your
show
ships
back
down
on the
to
road
Nullsec.
here. So everybody
After
go
you
ahead
hand
and
over your
undock,
property,
undock, undock.
You will not hear from them again. End quote.
Oh, and Frippy
Another
raided
player
me. He gave me the
responds,
battle
quote,
report. Thank you
"If
all.
by
Welcome,
some
welcome,
strange
welcome.
and
Sorry
bizarre
for,
miracle
you know,
do get into Goons,
getting
you
shit
will be forever
reorganized
shunned by the
here.
rest of the EVE community. Once you join Goons, that's it. You can never leave to join another corp or alliance. You simply cannot be trusted in any other corp or alliance. You might as well just delete your character and start
Just
over
crows?
if you want to leave Goons." End quote. While this was somewhat hyperbolic, it captured the general sentiment of New Eden. There were the Goons, and then there was everybody else. While their money wasn't boycotted, few wanted much to do with them besides trade. As Nullsec grew more
Alright, I'm gonna warp us
competitive,
to
it became clear that the
a
Goons
Plex
would
here real
need
quick, just
allies,
to gather
and
us
so
all
they
up fully.
created a
If you
larger
didn't catch that
alliance
warp,
under which
we
all
are
Goons and
going
those
to
corporations within the
the
game who wanted to join them
No,
could
the large
participate.
advanced.
Goon Swarm. The work, The History of the Great Empire of Eve, an outsider's perspective, speaks to the
Broadcasted a warp
reputation
2
of
for
the
that
Goons.
Plex that
Quote,
we're gonna head to.
"To best understand
Everybody go
Goon
inside, go
Swarm,
inside,
you
go
must
inside, go
first
inside, go
understand
inside.
Goons. The Goons are not native to EVE Online, but rather are a form of invasive species. The defining psychology of the community is that there is us and there is them. Non-members are inferior to members, and many Goons delight in the misery of non-members, or
Go inside,
puppies.
go inside, go
EVE
inside.
Online is not the first game to be visited by the Goons, nor will it be the last. The Goons move like locusts between online games, establishing themselves quickly and attempting to conquer the game in order to inflict the most misery for all
Alright, is anybody
those
catching
not
up?
part of the swarm. Almost every major competitive online game has a clutch of Goons, deconstructing the game and their enemies." End quote. These alliances that established themselves were taking advantage of the final period of time in which a new alliance could feasibly capture and
Alright, do we
hold
have any Tech
territory
2
for
ships?
years to come, and the radical shifts in the fundamentals of the game
Doesn't look
would
like it?
establish
Great.
what would become the first great empires, bending their industrial might for control over weapons.
We're gonna
that
go to
could
the
decide
small,
an entire
and
battle
I'm just gonna
with
see
the
if they want to
press
come and
of
play
a
in the
single
small here
button.
for a little bit.
On June 29th, 2005, CCP
That way they
announced
can't
a
use their
bevy of
Tech 2,
updates, most important among
fucking
them
frigates.
being 2 new classes of ships. Dreadnoughts were a specialized class that wielded
We
weaponry
could pop them
designed to
faster.
attack
Like,
the
I was hoping
stations
that we
had
would be
become
able to,
vital
like,
for
kill Villa,
warfare.
like, within,
Controlling a station
half of a
allowed
second,
the fighters
basically,
of
and
a
then start
defending
moving
or
on, but
invading
he's
force to
fucking
shelter
quick, man.
in a
Go
safe
inside, go
hub
inside.
from which they could launch their fleets, and dreadnoughts wielded the firepower to assault such bulky emplacements. Much larger than battleships, formerly the largest class of ship in the game, dreadnoughts could enter siege mode, which would render them entirely immobile but grant a significant firepower.
Yeah, we've
increase.
come for your
Constructing
flex.
a dreadnought, however, was a massive undertaking,
Oh,
requiring
really?
new starbase modules called capital ship assembly arrays. Rather than assembling the dreadnought in full, there were multiple parts, each of which had to be fabricated separately and then combined to create the completed dreadnought. In order to move the massive amount of materials required for such a ship, the second class that they announced was the freighter. Significantly larger than their older counterparts, these
Alright, I'm gonna
freighters
take
were
us over
capable of
to the
moving
medium
materials on an
Navy one.
unprecedented scale.
There's no more
But while they
smalls,
were typically
so
well
they can bring in
armored, they would
bigger
still
stuff
be
if they
obvious
want, but
targets
I don't
for
think they will.
pirates and
They'd have to
saboteurs.
fully
The
reship, and if they
implication
really want to bring
was
in
clear.
cruisers, I'm kind
In
of
order
okay
to
with that.
project power and protect what territory
Protect
they
two
had,
fucking friggies so they
alliances
can
now were
screw off
forced to
with.
turn inward and leverage their economies into production.
Alright, go
But
inside,
the
go inside, go
dreadnoughts were
inside.
eclipsed half a year later with the release of ships that would dwarf all others. On December 16, 2005, CCP released an expansion entitled Red Moon Rising. This time, 3 new ship classes were released. The first was the Carrier, a massive
looks like they're
ship
in
that
system, is
relied
that
on
right?
clouds of fighters to perform combat for it,
Alright, good,
intended
good.
as support for a fleet of smaller ships.
Alright, let's
On
see
the
if they
release page,
want to come and
CCP
play.
explained
We'll
that,
be here
quote,
for
"The
18
Carrier is
minutes.
an affordable capital ship, and most major corporations are expected
No,
to fund
you
and
want to be at
deploy
about
at
10 or
least one
so.
for their
You know, you can
engagements,"
switch it
end
up
quote.
to,
The
actually one
second
thing
was the
good to do with
Mothership,
if you've
a
got
larger
Scram Web
variant
is
of
switch it
the
up to
more
Quake,
affordable
and then set it
carriers.
about
But
5,
these
6
two new
kilometers.
ship classes were eclipsed almost
Oh, you don't have Tech
entirely
2,
by
never
the
mind.
ship that would come to be
These are
synonymous
the cheap
with the
ones,
game.
so...
The Titan. The sheer immensity of a Titan was difficult for players to conceptualize when it was announced. For the first 2 years of the game, the largest ships were the battleships, whose volumes
they're
hovered
outside.
between 450 and 500,000 cubic meters. The largest Titan, in contrast, was an utterly massive 155 million meters cubed, well over 300 times as large.
Alright, free fire,
The
free fire, free fire.
capabilities wielded by a Titan were commensurate with
I'll
its
broadcast,
size.
but
The
go ahead,
first
free fire.
key feature was the ability to open a jump bridge. While
Oh, wow.
Titans were able to
Wow, they
utilize
tried
the
headshotting me right
traditional
away.
Stargate network outside of HiSec, they also could be used to coordinate massive fleet movements. If another specialized ship could light a cynosural field, then the Titan could use it as a beacon and jump directly to its location, whether in the same system or not, bypassing the Stargate network entirely, as long as the stars were close enough. This meant that, although the
Shoot
Titan
agent,
was a
shoot
ponderous
agent.
ship, it could still rapidly relocate with proper coordination, sometimes
Shoot
directly into a
LIK,
fight,
LIK.
suddenly shifting the balance of power. What's more, other ships could join the Titan in this jump, meaning that it could be used to move an entire fleet at once between stars in great strides, without being forced into
Alright.
the natural choke points.
Good
of the
job,
Stargate
guys, good
network.
job.
But the more tantalizing capability of the Titan was the Doomsday device. While CCP was mum about the specific damage.
Alright, let's
numbers,
scoop the
what
loot,
wasn't
guys.
known
Everybody
was
grab
that a
up the loot,
Doomsday
grab
device
up
would
the loot,
inflict
fill your
massive
cargo hold.
damage in a 500-kilometer radius, centered on a location of the Titan's choosing. What's more, the Titan would not even need to be present in the fight to launch the Doomsday.
Did you live,
If
Jan?
another ship could light a cynosural field, then the Titan could fire its
Yeah.
Doomsday through it, as
Good
long
job,
as it
good
was still
job.
within the same star
Great free
system.
fire, guys.
Many
That's
suspected
the
that the First
power of this
Alliance could
fleet is
feel the
because if we
Titan
can
would
just all
wield
free fire and they don't have
unprecedented power
really good
and
hit
become
points, then
nigh
we can just
unstoppable.
alpha through
Due
them
to
by
its area
yourself,
of
basically,
effect,
in one
the
other
power
person.
of a Doomsday scaled with the number of fighters on the battlefield, and over time, battles involving hundreds of players had become more and more common, further emphasizing the imminent importance and dominance of the Titan. Beyond
Somebody
these
grab me a
more
battle report of
immediately
that as
impressive
well.
Features, the Titan also served as a mobile platform from which war could be prosecuted. Players who died could respawn inside of the Titan and take a new ship stored in its hangar to join the fight.
We're going to be
together,
heading back out because
meaning
we've
that a
got so much
player
loot.
whose
So,
pod was destroyed would
everybody
be
go
able
ahead
to
and
rejoin combat
get back to the
immediately,
Hades
as long
3
as
station.
supplies were available. But before their incredible
Broadcasted
might could
warp
be
2. Go ahead,
wielded,
just dock
one
on
would
up.
have to be built. Much like the dreadnoughts before them, the different parts
Anybody
of
that
the
needs to be
carrier,
reshipped, go
mothership,
ahead and
Titan would
trade
need to be
Frozen Fallout
constructed
once you get
separately
there.
in
I'll be
different
docking up
capital
shortly here.
shipyards, then brought together and assembled.
Oh,
No
wow,
power
that was
based in
that was
Empire
great,
State would
guys.
have the
Well
resources or
done.
capital required for such a massive undertaking. And even if one did, they would have war declared upon them immediately, and their capital shipyards would be divested from them. But even in Nullsec, Andrew Groen notes that there were only 2 alliances who could feasibly produce the first Titan, and they so happened to have laid claim to territory immediately
the
next
GF
to one
local.
another. The warlike band of
Oh,
brothers.
wow,
who had
yeah,
nearly
way to go,
crushed the
guys.
alliances in the north, and the overwhelmingly massive Ascendant Frontier, consisting of former players from Earth and beyond. Of these 2, Ascendant Frontier had the clear advantage. While skill and coordination could readily win a battle during
Alright,
this
go
stage of
ahead
the game,
and
there was no way
trade
to outproduce
Frozen
a
Fallout
group
if you
with
need
so
a new
many
Thrasher.
members. As Groen notes, quote, Ascendant Frontier was not focused on expansion or military endeavors as Band of Brothers was. Ascendant Frontier had come to own a huge swath of territory in the south.
Yeah, unless
but
you're
its
getting
members'
attacked, and
true
then that's when you
tactic
need to start
was
moving.
industry.
Luckily, I was moving in the
Ascendant
beginning because,
Frontier
like, all of a
wanted to
sudden I
create
started
a
getting
prosperous
damage right
hub
away,
of
and I'm like,
trade
God
and
damn it.
commerce in
But then
Nullsec.
they pulled their
Was
shit off
working,
of me,
too.
so.
It was pumping out space stations, outposts, and capital ships at a rate many times faster than the next closest industrial powers of the era. End quote. But to accomplish this feat, they would have to overcome a new hurdle: espionage. While often neglected in the first few years of EVE Online, its role in the operation of large alliances had increased, as had its notoriety after a particularly high-profile case. While most mercenary groups specialized in combat, another corporation, named the Guiding Hand Social Club, would instead perform contract work for clients looking to subvert their enemies. Sometime in late 2004 or early 2005,
Cancel that
an
trade!
anonymous client approached the Guiding Hand with a
Trade Frozen
contract
Fallout.
and a massive sum of ISK, hoping to buy their
Yeah.
services to target Ubiqua Seraph, a large corporation of the time. They asked that Ubiqua Seraph's coffers be ransacked and their communal hangars emptied of ships, but the contractors would be allowed to keep all of what they pillaged. The only object that the client wanted was the corpse of the CEO,
8, 9,
Mural.
10,
The leader
11,
of the Guiding
12,
Hand,
13,
Istvan Shogatsu,
14,
was similarly
15,
disinterested in the
16,
spoils, though he
17,
accepted these
18,
terms all the
19
same. The
kills.
Guiding Hand spent months infiltrating, earning positions of trust and authority. They
And
were more
2
successful
fights.
than their client could have dreamed. Multiple members found themselves entrusted
Right.
with much of the corporation's assets, and one agent,
Shall we do
named
this
Zemdal,
again?
found themselves
All
as
right.
one of Mural's
Anybody not
lieutenants.
ready?
Istvan explained, quote, Arenis Zemdal is what we call a Valentine operative. Essentially, his job is to seduce and entice an
Go ahead and
opponent
undock,
into
go
a
ahead and
state
undock.
of trust and confidence. As such, we'd call Mural's relationship to him moments before the strike endeared. End quote. On April 18th, 2005, the code word was sent to every agent: Nicole. Immediately, the corporation was drained of all of its liquid assets and much of its stores of supplies, and Zemdal collected
Yeah.
the CEO's corpse along with a squad of Guiding Hand members.
So
who
with
had
Coraxes,
waited
we are
to
going to need to
deliver
team
the
up a little
killing
bit,
blow.
so...
Istvan made a public announcement shortly
Yeah,
after.
so I'll
with
do broadcasts
characteristic
and
flair.
try and stay on
Quote,
broadcasts so that we can
"Greetings,
alpha
everyone.
through them. I'm going to
It
try
has
and do
been
2
some time
broadcasts at a
since I
time.
last stood behind a podium and made a public announcement, so you'll have to forgive me if
No,
I'm
don't.
somewhat
I wouldn't
out of
split
order.
any guns for this.
The
We're going to
reason
want to
I
alpha
stand
through
here
one at a
before
time.
you is to announce
because
that
they're
my
gonna have
mercenary
some shields
outfit,
on 'em.
The Guiding Hand Social Club has completed its
Go ahead,
most
jump into
ambitious
Fleet.
contract to date. Our target was assigned to us many months ago, Mural of Ubiqua Seraph. Our task was to carry out that which the Guiding Hand Social Club has now become known for, to utterly demolish Muriel and bring all who
Align Devon?
followed her to their knees in one fell swoop. For those many months we toiled, secreting our operatives among her ranks, steering her organization through a number of insidiously engineered events meant to engender trust and divert their attention from where it should have been. Early this morning, our hard work bore fruit.
Alright, warping fleet to Devon.
Executing a meticulously planned, thoroughly flawless concerto of simultaneous
Also, good showing
cliffhanger
Galente
heists,
today. This
attacks
is
in
about
open space, and
we're
facility
about even on
invasions.
numbers-ish
The Ubiquois
with
Seraph
these guys
came
now.
to know the wrath of the Guiding Hand
We got a
Social
solid,
Club
fucking
firsthand.
beautiful fleet here. I think
The
we actually
result
have
shatters
more
any
than 20
previous
people
record for
actually
sheer scale
in
of such an endeavor.
formation.
Our net gain from this massive heist is roughly estimated at over 20 billion ISK. Total damages inflicted are estimated at close to 30 billion.
Well, okay.
ISK.
I mean, not
Thank you
this
all
war
for your
per
time.
se. Oh,
End
yeah,
quote.
he's gone.
This would be far from the final major act of the
Yep,
Guiding
hold on
Hand
the gate.
Social
Hold,
Club, though they would be more
hold.
covert from this point forward. This level of
Is,
metagaming, however,
does anybody have
wasn't
eyes
shared
in
by
Fleet? I
all
believe we do.
people.
Or, sorry,
Most
Devon.
role players, for example, would attempt to play the game as a
Okay, go
character
ahead and
within
hold,
the
hold,
game
hold.
world. But those who didn't roleplay often regarded
get
them with
everybody
derision
here.
and saw them as potential targets, either for ridicule or aggressive action. While discussing EVE Online for her podcast This Game Changed My Life, Aoife Wilson posits that, quote, "The people you're talking to don't know that the talking part is a game too. You're going in, you're making friends, you're gaining their trust, you're spending a lot of time with them. They're being nice or whatever, and you know you're lying to them to the point of screwing them over." To which her co-host, Julia Hardy, replies, quote, "When you play a game, you are aware of what the structure and the rules of the game are because everyone's playing by the same rules. That's how you know it's a game. But then, if someone comes in and completely changes all the rules, but no one else is aware of the new rules, then it just doesn't seem like a fair game."
They're undocking Vexers?
These early years began to establish the rules by which people
Alright, go
would
ahead, jump.
play EVE Online,
Everybody jump in.
where other games of its ilk were played mostly within the game world, and this was generally respected by the other players. Real-world duplicity was gradually becoming a normal and expected part of New Eden, whether the existing players wanted it or not. Many of the first capital ships were destroyed before
Alright,
even
warping
being
fleet to
completed,
the
thanks
medium
to the
advance.
spy networks and scouting work from rival corporations. But finally, on September 25th, 2006, 9 months after Titans were first introduced into the game, the refugee players from Earth and
I hope
beyond
that,
and Ascendant
Excure's
Frontier
long-range fit.
completed the first Titan. Triumphantly, their leader, Psyvok, flew it into the capital system of the Alliance,
As long as you're long
allowing
range, you're going to be
everyone
totally
marvel
fine then.
at
Go
the
inside, go
finished
inside, go inside, go inside.
Avatar-class Titan, which he named Steve. The origin of this name is in contention. Most sources believe that it was named after the late Steve Irwin, who had died earlier that month, but Andrew Groen recalls that Psyvok attributed
let's see
the
if they
name
wanna
to
play.
a scene from the animated film Over the Hedge,
They've
released 4
got
months
1
prior,
minute and
in which the squirrel
47
character
seconds to
Tammy
get to us.
comedically proposes naming the massive, newly erected hedges Steve. Whatever the origin of the name, the completion of Steve
What were they trying to offer
heralded
us?
war. Immediately, their enemies and band of brothers invaded. But
No,
the
that was
power
just
of Steve
talking.
the Titan blunted their advance simply with the threat of its
Not-
presence until December 11th, 2006. During a
Alright, set yourself
large-scale
up here.
battle, Psyvok unleashed his doomsday safely through a cynosural field, then jumped to a safe point 20 systems away. But what happened next would change the paradigm of players for years to come, and would pit Band of Brothers against the rest of New Eden. More importantly, though, it would also begin a process that would sour the relationship between the developers of EVE Online and its players.
Alright, let's do that. Alright, stand your ground. Stand your ground.
game
Yeah, be
development
about,
in the
you wanna
early
be about 10
2000s
kilometers.
was significantly different than it would become 2 decades later.
10 kilometers
Developing
for
a
your
game
guns. Normally,
typically
check your
took
gun
only a few
optimal
years
range.
at
You want to be
most,
optimal
and
range
once a
off the
game was
beacon.
completed, it
Or
was
just be
common
on
for the
frozen
studio
fallout.
to
You know,
immediately
that's another
begin
good spot
work
to
on
be.
something new. MMOs were no exception. Most
Alright,
of
let's
them
get
would
this
run
cormorant.
for a few years, then die as the player base moved on to play something else. This had already happened to EVE's main competition, Earth and Beyond, and the developers
he's
all
gone.
expected
Alright.
that EVE would suffer the same fate eventually, as a matter
Right,
of
calling a
course.
couple
But as
broadcasts.
the game approached the 4th year of its lifetime, it seemed that it was only growing. CCP had created plans to continue adding features, and what's more, they were preparing to launch the game in China. A massive
Damien
new
kills,
market,
Damien kills.
though China would have its own instance separate from the rest of the world. While
No
this
fear,
was
shoot
good
no
news
fear,
for the
shoot no
company,
fear.
Many of the original developers
Next
were
after that
beginning
is
to
TAR.
grow restless.
TAR is next. So no fear, bring down no fear. Alright, I'm down. Somebody else call.
While CCP had plans for other projects within the EVE intellectual property, they were in need of new
Start free firing.
developers, and so they decided to hire some of their staff directly from their player base. In many ways, this was a logical decision. Hiring players meant that they were passionate and knowledgeable about the game, and they would be conscious of concepts and problems of which an outside hire might otherwise be ignorant. It also meant that they would need less training to learn about the intricacies of EVE. Besides technical know-how, these
Anybody call?
developers would typically continue to play even after being hired, which meant that they were passively listening to the information that flows through the undercurrent of New Eden in the form of word of mouth, rumors, and propaganda. In this way, they could adjust the servers quickly to anticipate
just keep on
battles that were
firing.
about to take place and reduce the effects of lag, as well as gather information for balance changes.
Same size, but
faster
they
than
did
otherwise
outnumber
would be
us.
able. But these new
And they had
hires
definitely
created
better
unique
shields than us,
problems.
and I was
Those
not.
players
I didn't
willing
call
and
targets
able
good
to
enough.
accept work at Crowd Control Productions were often among the
No,
most
no, no. If
dedicated
you're out, you're
and
out. Go ahead,
active.
stay out.
And for many, EVE had become a significant part of their lives.
Yep, and then
Delivering
the other
only
thing was is that I did
schedules
get
so that they
attacked
were able to add their
immediately, so I was
firepower
like
to
trying to save
important
my
battles
like ship
and assist
enough
their
so that I could like still call
corporations and
targets.
allies. Real friendships were frequently formed and broken due to
Ooh, you know what?
in-game
That would have been a
conflicts,
good time to
while
sort
some
by
were
name
burned
and
for
just like
in-game
fucking just kill the
advantages.
name, and if
For
it's
these
not near you,
players,
go to the next one.
boundaries between EVE Online
Yeah,
and
we'll
the
we'll do
real
that
world
next
were
time.
either blurry
Sort by
or
name.
non-existent. When these players
Go back to
became
the old
developers,
tactics
they
before there
gained
was
access to
broadcasting.
the dev tools and commands. This
The
power
old
would be
ways.
tempting
Don't
for
speak to
some,
me of the
and they
old
began to
ways. I
utilize
was
these
there when it
permissions
was
to their
created.
own ends, creating rare and valuable items for their corporations and alliances. For example, Blueprint originals used for building ships.
When you
and
do that, you
components
really have
were
to
in
make sure that they're
extremely
close to
limited
you.
supply,
That's the
as
only.
no new ones could be made. And so, most people had to buy copies that
Yep.
would be consumed after only a few
That
uses.
becomes an issue.
Using
It's
commands,
nice in a
these
fleet when you
player
don't, when
developers
range
could
doesn't
create
matter and
brand
you've got
new
like, you know,
blueprints for their
150
port mates
kilometers
and
around you that
themselves.
you'll just shoot
Jomar
anything in that
Pedersen,
range.
CEO of CCP, noted during an interview for Down the Rabbit Hole
Yeah.
that on 5
We did. I
separate
mean, we
occasions,
started
the
pretty well.
problem
It
had
just,
become
I
so
think
bad
their
that he had to
numbers
invite
definitely
the
overwhelmed
offender
us,
into
and
his
then we
office
definitely
and offer them a
lost on the
choice.
idea that we
Stop
had
playing
very
the game
little
or stop
EHP,
working
and they
at Crowd
actually
Control
were putting
Productions.
solid EHP on
Twice,
their
the
ships.
developer chose to leave the company so that they could continue playing.
But still, it was a great
So
fight.
great
Yeah,
was
I
the
would
role of
take
the
that.
game in their lives.
And I
It
mean,
was
hell,
with knowledge
that's
of
our
these
third
bad
clash with
actors
them
that,
now.
as Rowan wrote
Like,
years
that's-
later, Sivok, leader of Ascendant Frontier and pilot for Steve the Titan, accused a Band of Brothers member of malfeasance. In an interview for a Swedish radio program translated for Empires of Eve, Sivok said, quote, "Suddenly, one of the CCP interstellar
Alright, let's make our
transport
way back to
ships just
Hades
appeared out
again.
of nowhere and started to orbit my Titan. 2 seconds later, I was bumped offline, a total coincidence, I am sure, and about 3 seconds after that, so was my alt." End quote. Those who are more dubious of Sivok's claims noted that after a recent patch, it had become much easier to scan for Titans, And so, while finding Steve by pure chance was unlikely,
Ooh, I'm
was
actually
still
getting a little
technically
low.
feasible.
Not too
What
bad, but a little
precisely
low
happened is contentious,
than
and
what
no
I'm normally used
definitive
to in this
proof has
Thrasher
been
hanger
released.
here.
But
Normally
however
this
the
thing is just
location of
stacked.
Steve was divined,
But
the leaders of
I haven't
Band of
refreshed
Brothers
it in a
received
while.
word that Steve the Titan had been discovered. and
I
they
do have enough to go
immediately
for
gave the
another
order
round
to
for sure.
mobilize.
So if you want to
In a
go for
matter of
another
minutes,
round,
a
go ahead and
cytoshine
grab
field was lit
a
at
Thrasher from
Steve's
Frozen
location,
Fallout in
and the
Hey Die
entirety
Less.
of Band of Brothers fleet jumped in
And
to see Steve
if you
alone,
want though,
inert,
I will reimburse up
Immediately,
to
the
30 million
dreadnoughts went
ISK
into
if you want to
siege
bring
mode
something a
and
little bit
unleashed their payload
heavier,
into the
you know,
hull
that
of
you want to have a
Steve,
little bit of fun
which
with.
could only wait
If you die,
placidly
throw
toward
the
end. Steve
Eve
the
mail,
Titan
an
exploded
Eve mail
and
to me
was
with the
reduced
kill
to
mail in
rubble.
it,
The first
and I'll
Titan
reimburse
to
up
be
to 30
built
million
was
ISK.
now the first
As long as the
Titan
ship
to
is
be
worth-ish
destroyed.
30
The
million ISK. You
members
can do a
of
little bit
Band
of
of
insurance
Brothers
fraud
were
and kind
jubilant,
of
and soon
rejig the
the
numbers
loss
if you
of
want.
Steve became
But I'll
common
give out
knowledge
up to
all
30 million
throughout
so you can
New
get in
Eden.
something like,
To honor its death, Steve's
you know,
unit's
cruiser or
corpse
something
would
like that.
remain in the system of C9N TAC CC, where it was destroyed,
I
so
might.
that players may still return to it and
I don't
pay
really
their
have a bunch
respects.
of
The death of Steve had
bunch of
made many
T1
players
stuff. I have some
suspicious,
expensive
but
cruisers
soon
that I could
an
hand
event
out,
would occur that
but
would
it's not really
unite
worth it
all
at this
of New
point.
Eden against Band of Brothers, and more importantly, alter the relationship between the players and the company on a foundational level. In January of 2007, a hacker responsible for releasing private information on Goonfleet, going by
Yeah, you don't want that.
Suman,
It'll be a target.
approached them, offering to hack their enemies for free after his client from the coalition of
Alright,
the
that's
South
fine. That's no
refused
problem.
to pay him for his services. Among those targeted was Band of Brothers, and included with strategically important pieces of information, he discovered logs proving that one of the members of Band of Brothers was a developer and was granting his alliance rare goods. While some were dubious at first, CCP later confirmed that, indeed, the accusation was true. Hilmar Pedersen wrote on the subject in a public letter with dramatic
Alright, anybody
prose.
else need a
Throughout our history,
Thrasher?
there have been a
And,
handful of cases where our employees or members
there anybody
of our
that
various
is
volunteer and partner programs
making their way
taken
back to
advantage
Hades
of the
still?
proprietary powers they are granted through access and knowledge. These cases have been investigated, prosecuted, and judgment rendered. Usually, the
Okay.
punishment has
If
been
you can't
quite
fly a
simple:
Thrasher
termination
and
of employment.
you
A
still want
pivotal
a ship from
case
Frozen
was
Fallout, I
uncovered
do have some
last summer during a
Algoses.
routine
Let me
investigation
know
of
and I will
developer
give you an
accounts.
Algos instead.
Unfortunately, CCP did not act with the same decisive consistency we have used on previous occasions.
So I have an
Those
Algos
left
as
at the
well
helm
that I
chose
can
to
hand out
react
to people.
cautiously, as
So
sometimes
some
is
people can't
appropriate
fly
under these
Thrashers,
circumstances,
so
leading to more leniency
I mean,
and
it's very,
understanding
very
than we
likely
are
that
used
with
to
like
in these
very
matters.
little effort you
This
would be able to fly
particular
it.
case, involving a single developer, underlined where improvements needed to be made, and we have since focused
Yep,
our
that's the
efforts
drone
on
boat.
reinforcing rules and processes so that consistent ruling is assured.
It's a
It is no
destroyer.
trivial thing when corruption takes
Galente
place.
class
In our
destroyer.
case, it's no different than the injustice of public servants in the real world feathering their own nests rather than ensuring the prosperity of the many. Living in a country of a comparable population as the world of Eve, Iceland only has 300,000
Alright, if you
inhabitants,
are not
I
in
sure know how it can
Hades
feel
and
when
you
governance is not
need a
balanced
ship
and feeling
well, I'm sorry,
powerless
if you're
to
not in
stop it.
Hades, put an
I am
X in
certain
fleet
that
and
members of
how
the
much
Eve
time you
community
need.
are now going through similar emotions. I am sure that we all appreciate that it is no coincidence that Dante reserved the lowest level of hell for the worst of those who betray.
Oh,
their
do you need a
benefactors.
Thrash or an Algo?
In our
Sorry,
case,
I
I would
can give that to you
regard
too.
the Eve community as our
For
benefactors.
Kirk?
We are not the gods or the masters of EVE Online or the EVE community.
Yep.
We serve the community. You have entrusted us to safeguard your hard work. End quote.
Yes, we
The
will.
death of Steve the Titan had raised suspicions before, and now those suspicions had proven correct. Band of Brothers were cheaters.
Ooh,
Many
thank
in
you.
Nullsec had long hated Band of Brothers for various reasons, chiefly their imperialist aims and elitist attitude, but now all of New Eden had been granted a new ideological casus belli. While exploits, glitches, and unintended mechanics are common in games such as EVE Online, this was different. A developer was deliberately abusing his authority.
Alright,
and
everybody go
privilege
ahead
in order
and
to
undock,
aid his
undock, undock.
allies. While Band of Brothers as an alliance had already been diplomatically isolated for much of its lifespan, they had now been made a universal target. Players all over New Eden were enraged, snidely calling them Band of Developers. Even though most players weren't present in Nullsec, estimates state that over half of all players somehow participated in the war that would become known as the First Great War of EVE Online. With the majority of players
warping us to the Fleet Gate and
in the
Hades.
war, propaganda became more vital than ever, and the precise truth was becoming more and more difficult to ascertain, altered with flowery embellishments. In a blog post from October of 2007, EVE blogger Nate Combs writes that, quote,
I'm excited.
"The propaganda machinery of the
To the Fleet
coalitions
Gate?
play a vital role in keeping players informed of the big picture. The little guys struggle one ship, one system, one corporation,
catch
and
anything
alliance
here.
at a time,
Push.
and read the cues and spin.
Good,
from
jump,
the
jump, jump, jump,
mouthpieces
jump,
up
jump,
high.
jump, jump, jump.
Of this recent turn, Band of Brothers has
Try and catch
fashioned
anything
a
you
very
can.
slick propaganda video, spinning the retreat in heroic terms, in contrast to a more prosaic reality. Endy provides detailed analysis for the game world students of these things. Despite its production polish,
I got the
one will
Brutix,
note
got the
that its
Brutix. Shoot
audience
Taylor,
is
shoot
crisply
Taylor, shoot
targeted.
Taylor.
It makes little
Shoot
attempt
Taylor,
to
shoot
reach
Taylor,
more
shoot
broadly.
Taylor.
The important takeaway for a general reader might be this. How would the foot soldiers in a large-scale, information-complex, distributed game spanning the real-world globe and 24 time zones have any clue how their system-by-system struggle fits into the big picture?
Somebody grab him,
were it
somebody
not
grab him.
for, well, something like an EVE Online Alliance propaganda network. End quote. For CCP Games, war meant fun for the players, and fun meant more subscribers, which meant more profits. And while EVE Online certainly had a larger audience than many other games, its subscribership was increased even further due to its mechanics, which offered its players the ability to easily practice a technique known as multi-boxing. While most who play massively multiplayer online games tend to only play one character at a time, others will sometimes have multiple accounts that they will run at the same time in order to fulfill multiple roles at once.
Alright, pull drones, pull
Compared
drones,
to
pull
other
drones.
games, EVE Online was particularly well suited to this method of play, since many of the most important functions, such as
Ooh,
firing
get on Frozen
weapons
Follow,
and
get on Frozen
movement,
Follow,
would
let's do this.
continue to run once activated and only required interaction when changing this function. Even if a particular character underperformed, it was almost
Broadcasting.
always worthwhile to have multiple characters rather than only one in any situation. This gradually became vital for
L-I-K,
professions
L-I-K,
such as
L-I-K.
mining and industry, whose activities were much more
Secondary,
passive than combat.
ISH.
Mining and related professions mostly entailed approaching a resource node,
can you
pressing a
broadcast
few
him?
buttons, and waiting until the node was mined out while watching for hostile ships. For these players, the most effective way to scale was simply to have more ships, which meant multi-boxing. And so, it was common for players to have multiple windows.
Primary is A-L-E, A-L-E.
Different character. Even if a person could have multiple characters on the same account, each account was limited to only one of its characters.
Broadcast,
being
I guess
used
my
at a
thing isn't
time.
working. Here we
And
go.
so, multiple subscriptions would be necessary. This meant that some
Next
people,
one.
rather than only giving $15
Broadcasted.
a month to play, were instead giving many times more. Some of the most dedicated players would, and do, run over 10 characters simultaneously. Given the dedication of space game players and their relatively higher age bracket, the proportion of multi-boxers was likely much higher compared to other MMOs.
L-I-K?
What's more, word of the war was continuing to grow the player base, and CCP's business prospects were looking better than they ever had. While the precise player count is difficult to ascertain, the total numbers of subscriber
Alright, I'm gonna pull
counts
this
had,
off.
according to the company, surpassed 300,000.
Yeah, we were disorganized
Rather
after
than
that
only
fight.
pushing money back into the game, they began to build their company out, anticipating further success. While everyone involved with the production of EVE Online had believed in the potential of their project, it was still difficult for many of them to believe how successful their game had become. But the executives at the company wasted no time looking for ways to grow the IP, both to capitalize on the success of the game and grow the resilience of the franchise to compete with other MMOs. In 2004, World of Warcraft had been launched by Blizzard Entertainment, developers of numerous well-regarded games such as StarCraft, the Warcraft series, and the Diablo series. And much like their
Yeah, we
other
got some
titles,
kills out of that.
World
That was
Warcraft,
not the
known
best
as
showing,
WoW in
but
shorthand,
man, did they
was a
come
massive
strong.
success upon launch,
And
even as the
yeah,
years
and they
wore
also,
on,
I mean, that was a
the
smart
subscriber
change up
count
for
was
them.
only
And then
growing.
the
There was some
interesting thing was
speculation
that
about
we were
whether or
like,
not
I should
WoW
have
would
not
swallow
engaged.
the
I should have
entire
pulled us off the
market.
gate and
The
regrouped us
foundation of
because we
these
were
fears is
all
dubious.
over the fucking
World
place
of
in that fight.
Warcraft and EVE Online occupied drastically
Go
different
ahead and dock up
niches.
at
WoW
the
is
Federal
what is
Defense
now
Union.
known as a theme park MMO, guiding the player through a
Warping us
series
there.
of set
So
pieces
that was
in
the
an
last
expected
of my
sequential order and
Thrashers. I'm
progression.
pretty low. I
EVE,
gotta
in contrast,
rebuild
is
them
known
back
as
up,
a
but
sandbox, granting the player a variety of tools. and the
I'm
decision
also
of
going
what they
to
wish
call it for the
accomplish
stream
with these
fleet, but
tools.
does anybody
While
want to take,
players
we've
of
got a
any
bunch of people
particular
here, I'm sure, that
character
want to
level in
continue
WoW
going
will
out and
typically
killing stuff,
only
and I'm
be
sure
seen
Trix
with
is
others
going to
of the
be out
same
and about
level
and doing
bracket.
stuff, so
It's commonplace for
if
a
anybody
fleet
wants to
in
take over
EVE
the
to be
fleet, just let me know, I
comprised of
can
players
transfer it
with
over to you.
widely different character skills accumulated. Still, there was a significant fear that the harsh and
I was just about
hostile
to say the
nature
same
of
thing.
EVE would push players into the much more inviting world of
Come on, who wants to be the new
The
up-and-coming
dedicated EVE
FC of
player
the
base
Galente?
took to referring to WoW pejoratively. An oft-repeated insult was that an EVE player leaving for World of Warcraft increases the average IQ score of both games. But soon, Crowd Control Productions would begin competing with Blizzard in an entirely different way. In 2006, CCP announced a new collectible card game named EVE: The Second Genesis,
Yeah.
identical to its namesake game.
Alright, well, this was a really great fleet. We had a lot of fun. And in the end, that was beautiful. I mean, we did trounce them the first two times. We had an okay-ish, you know, kind of like definitely lopsided to them, but a still good fight there. And then they brought the hammer. I'm okay with that rather than the hammer and, you know, and then the hammer and the hammer and the hammer, you know. Yeah, we didn't, you know, we've got a counter to this. Yeah, no, and that's perfectly fine, because I do need to. I mean, one of the things is I want to make sure that we have a little bit more of a variety of cheap shit to throw at them, and some of them will be tankier and some of them will be, you know, weaker, and then I want to have it be the same kind of ships with different fittings, so that you don't know if somebody's tank or not, you know. And then start handing that out a little bit more random, because, and then also just being sometimes a little bit more tanky, you know, or change things up a little bit. So this is truth. Awesome. Well, thank you all for watching. Let's go find somebody for you guys to raid.
I don't know. I'm not losing